action. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one, motherfucker, by peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put them in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys, man so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize, right girls, better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan, if you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that, stop that, stop that.
I'm lucky. I don't sleep. And last night was the perfect night for me because there was so much going on over the weekend trying to figure out all the different things I wanted to discuss. The problem with the loneliness of not sleeping is who am I going to call? I went down the list. Can I reach Roy? Is there any way to get to Billy or Jess or Jeremy? Who's going to answer my texts? And I must tell you guys that I went over. I didn't contact any of you.
I was about to say, I didn't get a single text from you, buddy.
What time are we talking here?
This was approximately, so my night was I got to Miami, check into the hotel, and then White Lotus. So I watched that till about 10:46 because I didn't start it directly at 9. It was an hour and a half. Then this was about 1:47 approximately when I wanted to reach out. And the reason I remember is I was thinking maybe I could reach out to Dan, who's in a different time zone. But then I just swallowed my phone. It's like a ref swallowing his whistle.
Did you have anything interesting to say, or was this just loneliness, like, hey, you up?
It always starts with, hey, are you up? But I think it gets interesting talking about what order to talk about stuff. Like, I wanted to start with...
So you wanted to talk about work?
Yes.
At 1 a.m. on a Monday morning.
It seemed important because we were going on air in only 7 hours and 13 minutes. And so I was calculating in that remaining time, can I get through everything that I have to get through? And again, I swallowed my phone.
You made a good decision. Dan would have texted us.
For sure.
So Dan does do that. He's been told not to. He's really trying to improve on that. But I actually...
Is he?
No.
Yeah?
He's trying. He's totally trying.
Is he?
No. Are you still getting the 5 a.m. emails?
Yes.
Because he learned how to schedule emails.
Wait, what time did you get the email the other day?
That was 3:47
Eastern?
Eastern.
He promised me that he would schedule emails.
How long ago was that conversation?
It's been 3 or 4 days.
Maybe you
3 or
meant
4
PM.
days? Yeah, all right. So then we're good. It was before that.
Oh, there's a whole new sheriff in town. It's all about the scheduling. He had a funny thing that he did when he scheduled something. He doesn't like to interrupt Nothing Personal, which is done at 8 a.m. live. This morning, of course, he texted the entire Nothing Personal show, and I didn't respond. But he's also potentially in a different time zone. And so he said, I'm going to send an email, but you won't get it. It's scheduled 8 o'clock. Don't look. It came at 11 o'clock Eastern. He scheduled it for 8 o'clock his time zone.
If you're going to tell me you're sending me an email, at that point, just send it. There's no point in the warning that you're going to get an email.
I was wrong. It wasn't 3:47. It was 3:45.
Oh.
Do you not like the text that says, are you free?
No.
You just want the phone call. You want the right off the top. Just call me.
Yes. Absolutely.
See, I was taught by people younger than I that they like the warning first. Like, hey, can we talk? Or, hey, are you free?
It depends. If it's one of my good gal friends, just call me.
So for me, I'd have to do the warning text.
If you called me out of the blue, I'd be like, huh.
Ooh, that's how you
I'd be like, what's this about? If Billy called me out of the blue, I would be like, uh-oh.
Yeah, something written wrong.
I'm not a caller. I don't really call people. I'm more of a texter.
If Jeremy called me out of the blue, I would just hit ignore.
Yeah, I get that.
So everyone you work with is either a uh-oh or an ignore.
Yeah. No, if Taylor called me, I'd be like, what's up? Hey, buddy. Hey, what a game from OG last night. Yeah. Oh, man, he's been playing so well the last couple weeks.
Yeah. It's such a great list we could make of who we work with, who gets what when a call comes in or an email. Anything from the ignore to what's even worse, which is the uh-oh. Or for me, what the worst is what you did with me, actually, Jessica, which was the like that made me feel terribly lonely and upset.
The uh-oh is a confusing description. Like, I feel like, and I don't know, I feel like Jess doesn't hate me, but the uh-oh is like, oh, if he's reaching out to me, things must be bleak.
I think there must be like a work emergency.
Oh.
If you're calling me.
I've actually called you before with stuff that was going on.
But
I
you've
called
sent
you
me
about
the
a
text
story
first.
but I did the text.
Yeah, so I'm saying if you just call out of the blue, it's like
Yeah.
that's not good.
I wish it didn't have to be that way, but especially last night, especially knowing all the different topics. I don't know how to lead with anything other than the nonsense we started with Ovechkin. It's history. We could talk about, obviously, what happened to Duke over the weekend, and we should. We can talk about, because I think we have to. Let me check my contract. I have to do LeBron and the Cowboys and the Heat and the Marlins and the Dolphins.
Fine print.
Very fun.
Well, Panthers, too. Don't forget that.
And we have to do Panthers.
Inter-
And tomorrow we have to relitigate all of those topics.
No. Well, you may, but I wouldn't do that.
No, we have to talk about basketball.
We could also do that.
But 2023's team.
Yeah, that's right.
I like doing Ovechkin. And the reason I want to talk about Alex Ovechkin is that I am a sucker for watching things that never happen, that I expect never to happen. It's why I rooted for the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. I wanted to see the three-peat because I've never seen a three-peat. When I was lucky enough, and this is a total hit the button, which someone else will do, I went to Gretzky's last game ever, and it was really cool. I was in New York. I didn't fly for it. It was there. But the thought was in New York, and certainly in Edmonton, that Wayne Gretzky, the great one, the GOAT, that record will never be broken. I think that there are records that we view as those that are untouchable. And the goal number by Gretzky, to me, was one of them. And then Ovechkin, out of nowhere, he's getting closer and closer. Just for fun, do you guys know who's next to break Ovechkin's record? Active? What's your number one guess?
Probably Sidney
Crosby,
You'd say
right?
Sidney Crosby. And then you'd say, how far away is Sidney Crosby?
Maybe
Give me an over. I'll give you an
150,
over-under.
200.
273. So now let's say that Sidney Crosby is better than Ovechkin in scoring. Let's say he's McDavid. Let's say he scores 60 goals a season. Get me an age on Sidney Crosby. 37?
Yeah, just about, yeah.
Roughly? Does he have 5 more years? 5 more years of scoring 50 goals?
No, not 50 goals. No.
It's out of the question. There's no chance. We watched a record last night, and I kept thinking about the business of the record because Ovechkin did it on the road. They could have sat him against the Islanders and had him come home and break the record. But the Capitals are playing for something. They're playing for home ice in the Stanley Cup.
They already have it.
I
mean,
thought
that's a done deal.
aren't they behind Winnipeg?
Yes, they are behind Winnipeg. For the East, though, they got home ice.
Right,
All
but for
day
the
down
Stanley Cup, they got to catch Winnipeg.
there. Yeah.
So they got a reason to win. And so they're going out there trying to win it. So, of course, you play Ovechkin. What we do when we have a player who has a chance to break a record, we actually give him the choice. We would ask, we had spoken to Ichiro before his 3,000th hit, do you want to play in Colorado? Do you want to wait till you're back in Miami? And he said, put me in, coach. I want to win the game. I'm ready to play.
Asshole.
So
Wow. Okay.
that's not Ichiro.
Ruined everything.
Of all the words to describe
day.
Ichiro, that's not one.
Well, I wasn't talking about him.
You talking about me?
Nah, I'm not pointing any fingers. Just
Wait a
saying.
minute.
Someone involved was.
I'm sorry.
Did Yager retire officially? Because I feel like Yager still has a run in him.
Yes, I believe he retired. He's in Europe right now.
I think I saw him playing in Europe at the age. Isn't he 58?
He is not 50.
How old is Yager?
He's pretty up there, but he's not 58
Is he
years
older
old.
than Gordie Howe?
Well,
He's 53.
No.
53?
He's got like 2 seasons left. in
Gordie
him if
Howe's
you
dead,
need
by
him.
the way.
But Gordie Howe scored goals in the NHL, I believe, at 52 years old.
Yes.
How is it that I'm 57. I can barely get out of bed and forget getting on skates. But can you imagine the possibility of scoring a goal in the NHL at 52? Yager's done. He'll never score again on the ice in the NHL.
Yes. In the NHL, he's not doing that.
Billy,
Yes.
it wasn't me.
I'm not blaming you.
It's time for me to tell you the truth.
For Mattingly because I'm ready to
absolutely-
hate Don Mattingly.
You do not.
I hate him.
How do you hate Don?
He
Now,
sucks.
now you're just being argumentative.
No, I don't like him. Donnie baseball, please.
Donnie Mattingly is one of the great players, Hall of Fame players, short
Yeah.
of back issues.
Okay.
Longest tenured manager in Marlins history.
Yeah, too
we
long.
didn't fire Mattingly when we could have.
I know. The only manager I wanted you to fire, and you guys refused to. Jeez. Couldn't do me a solid.
I
Look at this
really
guy.
liked firing managers.
Constantly taking out pitchers when they're middle no-hitters. Guy.
What is it that you liked the most about firing managers?
That there would be an opportunity for improvement. That the dream could be alive.
So it wasn't about like the feeling of knowing you were ending their tenure. Like it wasn't. It
No.
wasn't the benefit of knowing that their job was lost. It was just
No.
knowing that there was a future ahead of you.
It's a carrot. I
Okay.
always felt in baseball.
That's more human.
Over
That's
those
good.
18 years, I always felt like the dog at the track. I always feel badly for those dogs. Of course, you go and you bet on them, and it's horribly inhumane. But they're always chasing that thing that goes around the track. I think, is it a carrot or a bunny?
Rabbit.
It's a rabbit?
Yeah.
Literally, it's not a real rabbit. It's
No,
a
no,
metal
no.
rabbit.
Yeah, mechanical rabbit. Yeah.
How mean is that? They never catch it.
You want it to be real rabbit?
No, I want them to be able to catch it. Like, for winning, you should, instead of winning money just for your owner and for the fans who bet on that dog, shouldn't that dog get the rabbit?
Yeah, it'd be awesome. The race ends, and then they throw like a real like rabbit on the track, and now it's like, have at it, dogs.
You won.
Yeah.
The two dog got the rabbit. Wouldn't that show the other dogs that they ought to be running faster?
Yeah, but then if they find out it's a fake rabbit, they're not going to run as fast next time.
Do they know the difference?
Well, no, that's why you throw a real rabbit
That's
on after the
exactly.
race, and you sacrifice rabbits. Elderly rabbits that are on their way out.
I'm
With
saying
terminal
sick
diseases.
rabbits.
Honestly,
yeah,
you're like
sick
putting them out of
rabbits.
their misery.
Yeah,
Feed the
exactly
people.
right.
I'm talking
Yeah, right now.
euthanasia.
Exactly right. Rabbit
rabbits.
euthanasia.
This would be the ultimate thing in dog racing.
I don't like any of this.
The PETA people.
Do dogs still race? I thought that dog racing kind of went by the wayside.
No, it's a whole thing.
Really?
We did, when I was a summer associate at a law firm, they took us to a dog track, and we were told that you always do the trifecta 2-1-5, and that it will hit once during the course of a day of races.
How long ago was that?
In 1991. Wow. Is that before Jessica was born by chance?
Well
Both of us.
before Jeremy and I were born.
So I was in law school, and in law school you go to your summer associate at a firm, and they do like events in order to woo you to. It's a bait and switch. They let you go to a dog track and a racetrack and baseball games because then they work you 100 hours a week once you get the job. So it's ridiculous. So you go to the dog track, and you get a coupon like for a drink, but it's your own money if you want to gamble. But we were told 2-1-5, and so you bet the trifecta every single time. And wouldn't you know it, 2-1-5 hits almost every time. It's a little bizarre, almost like it's fixed, almost like the rabbit's fixed.
This is great advice on something that I don't think any of us in this room are going to do or would advocate for at this point. But I appreciate
to
having the
Highlight.
knowledge. I mean, I don't go to Highlight. A couple other people go to
You
Highlight.
bet on Highlight?
Yeah.
Highlight
I would
though,
have to go to Highlight.
Highlight
to bet
is
on
like,
Highlight.
at least like my experience with Highlight here is it's very similar to like your experience at the law firm where it's like, oh, come on in and here's some free money to bet, and then you can leave with free money. But on the way out, why don't you check out our casino? And oh, you won $80? That's free $80 you can spend in our
You
casino
might as well
today.
drop it on
Yeah.
red.
I mean, I won $400 at a Daniel Highlight. once.
Really?
Yeah.
Doing
Without
what?
it.
Trifecta.
Oh wow!
hit a
Did you
tr-
report it?
Was it 2-1-5?
No, it was not 2-1-5.
You don't
There
have
was
to
an 8 in
report
there
that.
somewhere.
I'm not giving tax advice to any of you. But if you don't deduct your losses, you really don't need to declare your wins. On the slot machines, though, they give you an actual tax form if you hit a big slot win at a casino. But if you put $1,000 or $1 million on black on roulette and win, they give you the chips, they give you the money. You don't fill out anything. But on slots, you do.
I mean, you would think that would be pretty noticeable. Winning that much money, you probably would have to declare that, wouldn't you?
The greatest example of someone doing something noticeable and not declaring was the first ever winner of Survivor. When everybody was watching, a guy named Richard Hatch won Survivor in 2000. He was the one who was naked on national television. And he decided to take the $1 million and not declare his income. And he got caught and convicted of tax evasion.
Of course he did.
And because they didn't withhold it. You're supposed, listen, if you withhold, which is what you'd get with a normal paycheck, there's tax withholding. You still have to file your taxes, and you still have to declare what your income is. That idiot didn't do it.
Well, what was his thinking, that he wanted abroad and they gave him the check abroad so it wasn't income for the U.S. government?
Survivor had just started. It's the same thinking as the people on The Price is Right who were betting $1, who bid $1 on the showcase and then win. And you know how they always say the retail value of this showcase is $14,469. You get taxed for that. So just FYI, like, remember when Oprah gave a car to everybody?
Tax for the car.
You can't take that car if you can't afford to pay the tax because it's taxed.
I imagine we'll talk about the White Lotus season finale later on in the show, but there was a noticeable thing that happened that made me think, what if the IRS finds out about this? But again, we'll wait till later because I know everyone hasn't seen it yet.
You know, a lot of people on those like home renovation shows, they end up losing the houses because the value goes like way up. They can't pay the property tax on it, and it's like, wow, we fixed up your house and now you're homeless.
There are amazing people in Florida who, for a living, they actually will help your property tax bill go down. They take a percentage of it. Do you guys do this if you're homeowners in Florida? They're tax assessment lawyers. And if your house is worth $600,000, they'll make it so your house is worth $300,000.
Sure, that's not a scam.
No, these are legitimate. These are legitimate lawyers. It's done. The players, we all did it. It's not a scam at all. It's approved by the state of Florida, the Department of Revenue of Florida. Totally legit, but they take a cut.
Might have to look into that. Every house down here is like worth like $800,000 now.
So you should 100% take a look. There's a way to fight what your assessment is. But when the home renovation comes, it didn't occur to me that that is one of the things that comes with it.
Like The Price is Right. Also, a lot of the people end up leaving without the prizes because they have to like pay or show that they're going to pay on the way out. And they're like, oh, never mind. Like, I had this great moment, but now I don't get any of these prizes. There's shows that I think I read, I don't remember which shows it was, where they give the prizes, and if you can't, and you're like in the audience, you can be like, yeah, I'll take that prize as long as you're going to pay for it. I need to look up which shows offered the prize. The prizes were up for grabs.
Do you think it's like the boat in The Price is Right? I always laughed at that when they go out and there's this big boat that someone wins.
What a headache. Well, I would
It's
never,
the worst.
I don't want a boat. I want to know someone with a boat.
Well, no, it's like you win a boat, but you live in South Dakota, and it's like, oh my God, I won this
Right.
boat. It's like,
Landlocked.
great, what am I going to do with this boat?
Sell the boat. If you can afford the tax and get that
How
thing
do
out
you
of
take delivery? I always thought about that you have to handle the stuff that you win on The Price is Right. It's one of my favorite game shows, but you really have to be careful. There's a great documentary about someone who was gaming The Price is Right.
I watched that. It was very interesting. He had like a massive database of what everything cost over the history of time.
He was wronged. I mean, he was punished for studying and doing research and just having all of the information.
I've had a major issue with that. I don't like punishing people who do extra work. That should be rewarded. The fact that he's willing, there are people on Survivor, as an example, who practice the puzzles in advance. They build 3D models. They're doing all sorts of stuff. And old school Survivor players are upset with them. And I'm the opposite. I think it's the greatest thing ever if you're willing to do that. I tried to sit in the driveway. I tried to make fire before I went on the island. I had flint and a machete.
I don't understand how there's people that still go on Survivor and don't know how to make fire. Like, you know...
It's harder than you think.
But you should practice it. You know, and especially if you get to the end, it gets down to like a fire making competition towards the end of Survivor. So there's people who have been on the island for 40 days, 36 days, whatever it is now, and haven't practiced at one point in time, had no plan on getting there, what they would do if they were in that position.
You actually do practice before filming starts. You go to the island and there's a whole pre-show, and part of that is making fire and making shelter. You know those palm fronds? You have to weave them, and you do it by hand. It takes a lot of practice, and you have hours, days, a week before the show starts, and you have to learn how to do it. And I could never, I'm terrible at that kind of stuff.
So what would you guys do? You'd go and you'd have like, okay, it's time for Survivor School today, and they'd take you out to Survivor School, and then you'd go back to like the 4 seasons or whatever, and they're like, all right, in 6 days.
It sounds like the
you're gonna
beginning
have
of
to
the
know these
training in the
things.
Hunger Games.
Well-
Like they're setting you up to just send you out to slaughter.
So, as a matter of fact, you are at a resort, but you're in a tent on the ground. So you can start adjusting to living outside. And
Like
you're,
Firefest.
And you're well, except you're told in advance what it will be like, and you don't pay. You get paid. And secondly, It's not Survivor School. There's a whole thing. You have to do medical checks. You do mental health checks. You do cast photos. You do interviews. You meet with the producers. There's all sorts of pre-show stuff that you have to do.
Are you isolated from the other contestants?
No, but you're silent. You're not allowed to talk.
Huh.
So for me, it was the worst part of the game. They give you books you can read, etc. I read Animal Farm while waiting, but I hadn't read that since high school. And it was really interesting.
Very interesting choice to read before doing Survivor.
Why do you think it was one of the book choices? Listen, they're not.
I can only imagine
around.
the headspace that put you in.
And you eat 3 meals with everybody, but it's all in silence. And there's guards.
How long is this process? Like, was this a couple of weeks?
No, about a week.
Okay.
I got in trouble. I almost got kicked out of Survivor before I got kicked out of Survivor because I was communicating with one of the fellow castaways. Her name was Sarah Lucina. I didn't know her name at the time. We had never met. We had only seen each other in silence. And our tents were next to each other, and I was so lonely that week with no ability to talk to anyone but the shrink and the producers that I tried to communicate quietly in the tent, but they have guards out there watching. And I kept getting in trouble.
Yeah, this still sounds like the Hunger Games.
Yeah. And I didn't stop. So then we started communicating through sneezing, where we would sneeze and then we got to say God bless you. And then we ended up becoming friends. We're still friends to this day. It's all part of my 1:47 a.m. text issue last night.
You texted her?
Yeah, what's Sarah up to?
She's on the Central Time Zone.
Oh, so it's only 12:47.
So that would have been a candidate, except she's not doing the show today. It was really for all of us to figure out where we wanted to go after Ovechkin.
Hey, get on the show. Book her.
Let's talk Survivor.
We talked
Sarah would
today.
Be amazing on the show. She would 100% come on. She's a police officer in Iowa. She's one Survivor. I don't know if you know that name. And I was the first Jew she ever met.
Oh.
And
What was the experience
thoughts after meeting you
She
of
likes
the
me.
Jewish people?
She's not converting. She's not going to temple
Okay.
anytime soon. But she certainly enjoyed meeting me,
Okay.
I think.
Just making
We were
sure we're
so
not
close.
breeding anti-Semites, with bad experiences or
Yeah.
It's
something.
the opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Pro-Semites.
I think we're exactly. We're breeding love.
Is this Sarah that went on to do like the challenge and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah,
You've heard of her.
I have.
She ran around the world with me. She
Billy,
did
do you
7
like her?
marathons.
You've clearly seen a lot of her work. But more
Love
worse
her.
than
She
Don
comes on.
Mattingly.
Oh well.
Wait, do you want
no
an
one's
intro?
Donnie T-Ball. Get out of here.
Billy, you want an intro?
No,
to Sarah?
we're good.
Seems like
We're
the
good.
opposite.
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
Wait, he does. I think it feels like I want to do a shidduch here.
A who?
A shidduch.
What was that, Yiddish?
Yes.
You want to translate that to English?
It's a meeting. I want to do some sort of connection.
I don't like meeting my heroes, and Sarah I would consider a hero at this point.
They just let you down.
Never meet you.
Yeah, I could always aspire and think, oh, what would Sarah do? But if I meet Sarah, then I know what she would do, and maybe I wouldn't agree. Like I was finding out Sarah was here the whole time, behind the scenes, pre-Survivor, trying to communicate with you illegally. So, I mean, is that the kind of person I want enforcing the law? I don't know. Not to take shots at her as a police officer. Thank you for your service, Sarah, but, it's just something to think about. If we're willing to bend the rules of Survivor, what other laws are we willing to bend the rules on?
You're willing to lie and survive even if you're not a liar.
Yeah, well,
You have to. It's part of the game. You have to pretend you're something you're not. I think we're all familiar with that, aren't we?
Meh.
I know
Not really.
I am. It's sort of like imposter syndrome to the 10th degree, isn't it? I was thinking about Wayne Gretzky being forced to go to all of Ovechkin's games. Did you watch? Please tell me you watched Gretzky present Ovechkin and shake his hand and give the thumbs up. Please tell me that I'm not the only one who saw Wayne Gretzky with his smile.
You might be.
No.
I was very locked in on, what day was it? Friday, I think it was, when he scored the 2 goals and he was going for the third, and then he didn't want to go in because he didn't want an empty netter, but then he went in and they were just feeding him the puck. And I don't know, Spencer Knight all of a sudden, who down here notoriously, Spencer Knight, thank you for your service, but Spencer Knight all of a sudden decided he wanted to play goalie when Ovechkin was going for number 3 on him for the night and just wouldn't let him do it at home for whatever reason. So he has to then go and do it against the Islanders.
It's
Poor
still
Wayne
cool.
Gretzky was there, and he was following him. That's like Roger Maris's family, except the opposite, right? Because the Maris family, let's be real, You're the Maris family. You have one thing, just that record, right? And they'll trot you out. They trotted you out when it was Mark McGuire and it was Sammy Sosa. And we thought, okay, fine, we're done.
every couple of decades
we don't have to
get
see
to
Roger
see
Maris' son anymore. Finally, we're done with that guy, right? And then Aaron Judge is going to break the AL home run record. And they said, oh, what do we do to celebrate this? Let's bring the Maris boys out again. So Maris' son is there, and he's in Toronto, and he's going around the world on this tour again, following the home run chase just to have someone spoil his father's legacy. It's really cruel what they do to the Maris family. They like it because it's, relevance for them. But it's really like, let's come here and watch someone ruin your daddy's legacy and everything that he's known for.
You think that Gretzky was thrilled to be at the Islanders game last night?
No, definitely not
at all.
Despondent. And you could tell with the smile. Now, he may have been 3 sheets to the wind. However you want to say it, that's not irresponsible journalism. It is personal experience.
He's a lush?
He enjoys a cocktail from time to time. He's the great one.
He's got his own wine label in Canada.
Think about what he does. He's in the business of being Wayne Gretzky. It's an entire business. Every day, you can't escape yourself. You are who you are. And his business is being the great one. And so he's there. Janet Jones, who if you know who that is, his wife.
Is he just a great one now?
He's still the great one to me.
Well, he still has the assist and points record, which is unbreakable.
The assist record is unbreakable. 1,963 assists Wayne Gretzky has. And I believe second place right now, active, I think, is also Crosby. And I think it's down at like 1,000.
1,060. That's crazy.
900 assists.
Tell me when that record's broken then. Goals thing's cool, but
Well, Gretzky has more assists than the rest of the league in history has points. So there's that. That's unbreakable.
I think you're the. If you're that, don't you stay the great one?
Do you think that he regrets some of those assists now? Like after his goal record goes down, he's like, I should have been a little more selfish. I really
he had
great
assists
teammate.
to spare.
Exactly right.
700 of them.
Come on, Wayne, put the puck in the back of the net.
For that matter, in terms of assists, he has what? He has 1,963. The most points otherwise is 1,921. So he had 42 assists to spare that could have been goals. And who knows? What if Ovechkin, tweaks something in the next 40 goals, and then all of a sudden he could have been the goals leader as well?
I think Ovechkin's retiring. I thought he was breaking the record, and he's done now. I don't think he's coming back.
So even more to say that Wayne Gretzky really should have been more selfish and turned 40 of those assists into goals. Even honestly, even if there would have been 40 attempts there, and even 20 of them could have been goals, right? Maybe, 20 fewer points on his career, but still leading in assists, leading in goals, and he never has to worry about this Ovechkin guy. Yeah. What a mistake.
I'm trying to imagine how that would go with Gretzky, who took more pride, I believe, in his assists than his goals. And
still would have been the leading assist man of all time. I'm just saying. He had an opportunity to set himself up for some more long-term success, guarantee the great one, and here he is. He's not the great one in terms of goal scoring.
I think when you lose this record, and this can be put on the poll by Juju, please. When you lose the record for all-time goals, do you go from the to A? I don't think that is the threshold. But I don't want to ruin the poll because people may disagree with me. But don't do it just for disagreeing, Jessica. When you fill out the poll, don't just say.
Don't worry, I'll vote with my heart.
I want you to vote with your conscience.
Okay.
With your belief system.
I'm going to stick with D.
Just give me a hint, Jessica. Which way are you going? Give me a hint.
My vote is private to me.
My vote, my choice. Is that you're never going to tell me what you voted?
No, never.
I'm just going to have to guess?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll text you tonight before 1:47 and just see what you voted.
How many hours before 1:47?
Well, given what time you go to bed, it's going to have to be around 6 hours.
I might be eating dinner. Probably not going to text you back if I'm eating dinner. So, and then I'm probably going to get ready for bed, put my jammies on.
So it's got to be 8 hours before?
Yeah.
Or are you now just, hey, leave it at work? If you don't get to me by the time we leave work, then don't bother me.
Why don't you ask me the next time we see each other in person how I voted? And I'll be honest.
Maybe tomorrow morning.
I'm not on the schedule tomorrow, so.
Oh, no.
I can't text you, though?
I don't know.
You always have an answer. Always have an answer.
If you can get her a text, what time's your afternoon nap? Maybe if you fit in a text before that.
Like 5 o'clock.
What's a good
All right,
text
so it gotta be
window?
before
You have a
5.
5 o'clock nap?
Yeah.
That's impossible.
What time do you wake up?
In the morning?
No, from your nap.
Like 5:40.
And it doesn't make you like
just
more
goes.
energized? At night, it'd be
Not at
harder
all.
for me to sleep if I took a nap at 5.
45 minutes is
sleep
nothing.
like a rock.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, man.
I could nap 7 hours and still sleep 9.
What a gift. Cherish that as long as you have it.
Yeah, I don't. First of all, I think that's hyperbole. I doubt that you could nap 7 and sleep 9. That would be 16
I've
hours
done
a
it.
day of sleep, like unaided. Mm-hmm. No drinks, no Ambien, just straight up.
I've never taken Ambien.
Ooh, you should try it. You
I'm
may
good.
like it.
I clearly
What's
don't
happening
need
here?
it.
I mean, not if you can give 16 large.
Uh-huh.
I think that everyone needs to tell me their. I think that's the right thing. I'm going to actually make that as part of my thing with Metalark. I would like a window. Give me your window. Everyone has a different schedule. I wouldn't have known that you nap at 5. I don't want to interrupt your nap.
Not every day.
And I'm happy to actually follow that window. And I'm smart enough where I could actually have individual people. Like Billy, do you put your kids to bed like at 7?
So we
Because
start.
you're tough to reach too.
I get back to you.
Yes.
I get back to you. But I have a difficult window, so it depends on having pickup and stuff like that. But bedtime usually starts. The process is like dinner, like 6-ish, and then there's bath, and then there's bedtime, and then it's usually like a process like 6 to 8:30 or 9, depending on how it goes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long process.
That's a 3-hour
Sounds terrible.
process.
It's a tough process.
Can I try to make that more efficient for you?
You want to come put my kids to sleep? Be my guest.
I'm
doing the
funny
bath,
how I
so.
put my kids to sleep.
He's going to give your kids Ambien.
No,
I know.
I didn't do that with my kids. No, I read them a book.
I was joking.
Okay, good. Thank you. Because listen, with you and me, you never know. But my view of my kids sleeping, sleep to me was the most important thing for my kids. Because it was selfish. I wanted not to have to deal with them. So getting them on a schedule as quickly as possible was critical. And doing it the same way every night, no matter where you were, no matter what time zone, because then their brain sort of understands that, okay, after bath, it's PJs. After PJs, it's one book. And then you beg for the second book. You say, good night, moon, shut her down, lights out. The biggest parenting mistake is when people let their kids control their nighttime routine, and then you end up without a nighttime routine, and then you're just screwed.
Got to be honest, it feels like you're lecturing me on parenting.
No, I'm saying I would never lecture anyone. No, I'm the opposite guy. Women do that a lot. I noticed when my
that?
kids
Oh boy,
were
where's
young.
this
what does
going?
that mean?
It
Bane?
means mothers would get together and they would sort of compare each other's kids' routines and what they were doing and making judgments on food. When I got together with guy friends, we never did that. We just talked about when are we released from duty? Like what time do your kids go to bed that you can then be free? And do they stay asleep? So it's not women, men. It's not a sex thing. It's just who's responsible. I was the diaper guy in my household.
Oh.
I did all the diapers.
Dealing with shit, huh?
I didn't mind it. I did not. It's the weirdest thing. I did not mind it.
My text window for you just got a little smaller.
Smaller than 2 minutes? Like, is it down to 1
You
minute?
can text me between 7 a.m. when I'm leaving for work
Ooh.
and let's say 4:30.
Wow.
That's a huge window.
Okay. Well,
7 a.m. to 4:30. I thought you were going
It's
to say
working hours.
you can text me from 7:01 to 7:03.
You know what? You're right. That's better. PM.
Oh, I thought you meant a.m.
Okay.
Small crack in that window.
Man, I'm trying to just get some sort of info. That's why I like using
Never
military
text me
time.
at 1:47.
Do you use military time? Am I the only one who does that?
Of course not.
I exclusively
Imagine
use
us
military
booking guests
time.
and we're like, yeah, 1600 works well for Dan.
I think it's very clear because we just had a miscommunication right now. You said 7:01. If you had said 19:01, then there's no problem. I know you meant nighttime.
Okay.
Next time I'll definitely clarify.
Semantics.
Well, it seems like her window is not
We're
going to get past
pro-semantics
the
here.
12 anyways, so let's just assume if she says 7, it's 7 a.m.
Because like at 13:20, she's out. OUT.
Yeah. I think
Were you just doing the math, Billy?
1300, she's donezo.
Did I just
1:20?
watch you doing the math for
1:20
13?
p.m.?
That's 1:20.
Well,
Yeah.
that's if I take an early nap, 13:01. Yeah.
Can I give you the military code, the trick? It's very easy. Just subtract 12 from whatever number above 12, and that's what it is. So when we say 18:30, 18 minus 12 is 6, that's 6:30 p.m. Just subtract 12 from the number, and then you can do military time.
Yeah, it's simple arithmetic. Yeah.
That is very simple.
Thank you for explaining that to us.
Thank you.
That
So-
was, you're welcome.
Are the rabbits going to be like, what kind of disease do the rabbits have to have for us to sacrifice them to the dogs?
If rabbits have a disease, the dogs are going to get the disease if they ingest the rabbits. That's why you can't feed them sick rabbits.
I think it's not a disease, Billy. I think they're just ready to die. They've lived a full life.
It's old age.
Did they tell you?
How old do rabbits live?
They live pretty long.
That's a really good
longer
question.
than you think.
I would assume the over-under for a rabbit's life is going to be 18 years. If I had to give
I don't think
over-under.
it's that long.
So you're going under 18.
Yes.
I'm seeing domestic rabbits like 8 to 12 on one
So
quick.
that's the under.
My
I don't know
wife
why-
owned a rabbit that they got at the fair when she was in middle school in St. Augustine, where it was they played one of those games where you throw rings onto a bottle, and at the end of it, they were giving out these little bunnies, which is crazy, of course, and totally unauthorized. And it was supposed to be a tiny little bunny, and then it grew into a giant rabbit that was in their backyard for about a decade. It lived to about a decade, which is pretty crazy because you would think if you got a little tiny rabbit from a fair, that certainly that was going to be an unhealthy rabbit. Turned out to be a very healthy rabbit.
It's like the carnival fish.
Yeah, his name was Benny.
The ping pong balls that you put in the things and you
Yeah,
get the fish.
just like that.
And generally it dies in the bag before
Right.
you get
We had
home.
a carnival fish for 5 years.
I had what was your fish's name?
Cleopatra.
Mine was Herman.
Wow.
Herman?
I named my carnival fish
Herman the carnival fish.
He didn't die. He made it all the way through my middle school. It was insane.
Your parents were just replacing it.
I actually thought about that, and I did that with my kids with a gerbil. Gerbil died, buried the gerbil, replaced the
Did they
gerbil.
notice?
Never noticed. 1-0 us.
So you are a liar.
You're welcome. The kids should just be saying thank you for my gerbil. And by the way, when the gerbil's sick, you just flush it.
No.
What else do you do?
Vegas legend, Carrot Top.
The man is a legend, and he's a legend in Vegas where it's hard to be a legend. I've seen him. His face is ID to get into all the big places. And he's also, though, he's a Florida guy as well, and I think he should be a Panther fan because he grew up in Boca. So I don't know where he is, but I believe he's bigger than Wayne Newton now. He's more Vegas than Wayne Newton, and I'm not joking when I say comedy legend for 40 bleeping years. 40 bleeping years and still doing it 4 times a night in Vegas. You, Carrot Top, Mr. Top, are rooting for who in this series?
You can't say 40 bleeping years. It just doesn't sound cool. You know, you gotta say 40 years. But it's going to be really rough. This might be the hardest decision of my life, being from Boca. I think I performed at the Sunrise Musical Theater when I was young. But my roots, I mean, I'm in Vegas. They're listening to me right now. I'm here in Las Vegas, and it's tough. I got to be honest. I think my heart is a little more for Las Vegas.
What? No!
I know.
No!
I mean, I'm here every
You
night.
sell out. You sell out.
Are you cranking it before the game?
You mean like drugs?
No, I mean the thing where you crank it and you get everybody hyped.
Hey, are you cranking it before? Yeah, man. No.
Have you ever cranked it?
Yes, they have. That's a personal question, but yes, I have cranked it. They gave me that twice. I've done it twice, and apparently Wayne Newton has beaten me by one crank. So
You gotta get
I was watching. I was at game 2 and I was watching.
I've got to
Wayne
catch
Newton
up on
crank it.
crank. I got to catch up on a crank.
Wayne looks great.
Wayne looks like hell. What are you talking about? Be honest.
Come on, Karen Tom.
No.
That's not
No. I love Wayne. Seriously.
That you can't take out the legend. What's the matter with you? But you
No,
are.
I love.
You are
I
more
love Wayne.
Vegas. No, you are more Vegas than him, though. You are.
I helped. No, he's Mr. Vegas. I'm Mrs. Vegas. He changed one night. We were doing a video, and it's really hot, right? I looked over, and Wayne Newton's hair was dripping. So I went over and I said, he's dripping with what? I said, I got to fix your hair. And he looked back at me, and I said, it's just drip. It was like a little black,
Oh no,
guy was dripping. So at least
not natural.
I fixed. No, it's natural. It's just naturally dripping. It was naturally dripping.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Yeah.
That's right.
Is it possible that the University of Connecticut women's basketball team is the greatest, that program? We were talking about unbreakable records, and I was thinking about Ovechkin, the goals. I've got a top 5 list I want to get to of unbreakable records, but then I started thinking about, and I watched the women's final, Paige Beckers, what they did. Am I missing, is it the Celtics dynasty in the NBA? Is that the only other one that we could argue, Red Auerbach?
UCLA
successful?
with John Wooden, maybe?
Good one.
I mean, they won, 8 out of 10 championships?
Kareem.
God, that's a crazy run, and Bill Walton as well.
I
But
actually think what's interesting about UConn's championship yesterday is the first one in 9 years. Yeah. And unless you're a big fan of the sport, you probably didn't realize their championship drought has been that long. Like, they haven't won since before Donald Trump was elected.
Is that a drought?
The
first time. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, after you're
successful?
winning, they had just come off of winning like 4 in a row right up until that point. And then they lost one 3 years ago, and then they were finally back in it and won. So yeah, I mean, I think it's almost like, I don't want to say more impressive, but women's basketball has obviously grown a lot in the last decade, and so to win now, even though they do have like 3 of the #1 overall recruits in the country starting on their team, it's still super impressive because it has been 9 years since they won one.
I mean, they went 2000, 2002, 2003, 2004 as one run. Then 2009, 2010, 13, 14, 15, 16, and hadn't won since then. So this is a really long gap in the span of the time where they've been this dominant. It's almost, I mean, in that way, it's reminiscent of the San Antonio Spurs, right? Where they could, in that run with Duncan Ginobili, they would win a championship, maybe even win a couple. I think they won 1 back-to-back or 2 out of 3, would go 6 or 7 years, and then be in the same situation again with that same core, where Popovich, I guess, could be the parallel there. But this is a level of dominance that far surpasses what the Spurs were able to do, obviously.
You guys are tough. To call that a drought, I think that people in Chicago, fans of the Cubs or Red Sox, would tell you what a real drought is.
No one's saying it's like a long drought, like it's a record-breaking drought.
Doesn't drought mean long?
No, not necessarily.
Can you be a 3-year drought?
You can have short droughts or long droughts.
For titles?
I think a drought period is around, 7 or 8 years, 9 years. I think this qualifies.
One bad drought could put a whole farm out of business forever.
True.
Yeah.
Now a drought when it comes to crops,
Yeah.
I view very differently than a drought that is titles.
Really? Why?
They're very different droughts. One actually stops your ability to do business, maybe permanently, and one is just, hey, we made it to the finals.
Yeah,
we didn't win.
think it's all relative. Like it's a drought relative to what UConn was doing prior to 2016. That's all I'm saying.
It's like the 9-year drought, I guess. This could just be the beginning of a new dynasty of sorts, right? So like it seems like Gino has had a series of dynasties at UConn over the span of 30 years or whatever it is.
40 years. Like he started coaching there in 1985, I want to say. Like he's been there forever.
I'm counting this as one dynasty. I was thinking about this also last night. This was my 3 a.m. thought as I was thinking about how to put in context what UConn did. I view that if you, like with the Spurs, with the Warriors, if the Astros win again in 3 years, let's say, if the Chiefs win again in 2 years, I view it all as one.
But college sports is different, right? Because nobody's the same except the coaches.
So that's why it's one dynasty.
I don't really understand.
So
what
it's
you're
the
saying.
Gino Auriemma dynasty is really what you're saying, because
That's
theoretically
what it is.
each run of players had their own mini dynasty within this long-term one. And that's why I think the word drought is actually makes sense, because if you're taking it in this run of time where he's been the coach, 9 years is a huge chunk of that, right? That's a quarter of the time he's been a coach, and that they went that long without a championship, considering the amount of championships they have. I think that what Jess is saying makes sense, which is the game has evolved so much in the time since Gino's last championship was won at UConn with the group of players that he had at the time, that now you can look at this in some ways as more impressive, that he was able to now, in a new age of women's college basketball, lead a team to a championship with a dynamic player like Paige Beckers and the rest of the dynamic players that they have, because it's all a recruiting thing.
That being said, they're still. It's
Right.
not like they ever stopped recruiting the best players in the country. They just weren't able to win because there were better teams that beat them.
Anytime there's an old coach, do we have to say that a coach who was involved back when there were typewriters, and then someone who's good at a computer, do they get credit for longevity?
Well,
because they've
especially
lived through?
in college sports, I think so, given the amount of older college coaches stepping away from the game, right? In whatever sport you choose. Look across all of them. There's all these coaches, particularly we look at college football, right? And all of these guys who were, established powerhouses have stepped away now. Even down here, Jim Larinaga at UM, he stepped away because the game is changing, passing you by, all of these different things. To see Gino now in this stage, in this iteration of women's college basketball, having this amount of success, I mean, look, the recruiting has always been there. So you could argue it was actually not winning over the last 9 years is a surprise, considering how good their teams have been. But to be here now has to be impressive, and especially when you look at the amount of time that's passed.
I think that he's going to love this one looking back more than the others. I think that he's going to say to himself that, wow, I have extended my greatness. And the way he was celebrating, did you see the dance he was doing as he was waiting at the end of the game? He did this sort of, he looked like me when I dance. I have one move, like the belt move or the dice move.
What's the belt move?
The belt move is when you have your hands over the belt and you whip it off, but not actually. You pretend you're taking your belt off, and you do that with the belt. You ever seen the belt move?
No.
And then do you lasso someone?
Yes.
Yeah, and
but
then
it's
like,
fake.
hey,
It's not a real belt. Wait, no one's done the belt
No,
move?
of course, but
It's the...
yeah. Oh God.
No one's seen
Hell
that.
And you're shaking your hips.
You
What's the
guys haven't been
success
to a
rate
bar
on the
mitzvah.
belt move?
Do you guys not go to bar mitzvahs?
I've been to
Not
probably
in
about
the-
100.
And you've never seen the belt move?
Of course, I've seen the belt move,
It's a
David, but I'm
great
trying to keep
move.
us pro-Semite over here.
How often do you do the belt move? Like once a song? Multiple times a song? You have to build up to the belt move?
It's a great question and something I think about. I split the dances at bar mitzvahs or parties into sections. So anytime there's a lot of fast music at once, that's a section. Then they do a slow song. That's the end of a section. And then there's another get up and go after you eat the main course. The belt move is good for once a section. The dice move, I can do all day long.
Let me see the dice move.
The dice move is this.
Okay, don't do that.
All day long.
You're
Yes,
hopping
be
up and
careful
down
with
while
that.
doing
Easy. Oh, I'm always,
Yeah.
you're always moving and dancing. I love dancing.
That's a gift.
That's a great move.
It's a
Easy
meme.
one to do. Sometimes if I'm feeling a little lucky and happy, I'll do the John Travolta Uma Thurman move.
What's that?
that. Which dance are you doing? Umas or?
I can do that one.
Oh, you are
I
doing
mean,
Umas.
that's when I'm really feeling good at a bar mitzvah.
Do you ever have like a fast portion of the music where you don't get to the belt move?
Yes, because the belt move is special. I have to be in the right frame of mind with the right people around. I have to make sure my kids are nowhere to be seen because they're embarrassed by it all. So that's very important.
The belt move is the one that embarrasses them, not the dice.
I threw up at my son's bar mitzvah.
Really?
That's embarrassing.
Why?
Not ideal. I had too much to drink.
Oh.
I was on the lawn
Classic
outside my
Gretzky.
son's bar mitzvah.
Did people see you throwing up?
Well, since I was in charge of transportation for everybody and we had large vehicles taking people various places and the transportation couldn't move because I was unable to board said transportation, I would say yes.
Was it like, haha, oh my God, he's throwing up? Or was it like, ooh, yikes, he's definitely overserved?
Oh, I think it's so. There's David again. This tracks.
Well, you're excused. You're the
Wait, does
dad
this
in
happen to you
situation.
often?
It used to, back in the day when I had kids and I had more of these parties on a weekend that I may or may not have wanted to go to, I would often do things that would go too far. Too much.
In terms of alcohol consumption.
So at my kids' bar mitzvahs, you have to give a speech. Other kids' bar mitzvahs, you can start right in at the appetizer hour. You can even pre-party, but when you're hosting, you can't drink at all until you're done with talking. So I made a commitment to my family that I would not do anything to change my mental state until after I was done.
And then you had to catch up.
Then I played catch-up.
Yep.
Very common with fathers of the bride or fathers of the bar mitzvah boy. It's the catch-up that kills you. You can't do it. You just have to be at your pace. But yes, I wasn't mortified. It was a sign of like, oh, there's David again. At
Just
least
means it was a good party.
it was a good party. I want to get back to UConn because I want to make sure Gino understands the love that we're giving him here because maybe we don't do enough on women's sports. It's unreal what he's done. Maybe I could argue the greatest coach in the history of all college sports. And you're going to think that's recency bias and hyperbole, but I dare you, John Wooden was a good one, I dare you to come up with a college coach who has been more successful than Gino. And you're going to have to think about it, and maybe you'll get back to me, maybe you won't. In the meantime, is there a chance that we have a stat of the day about this?
Start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, it is your start of the day. Stat of the day is brought to you by Evan Williams Bourbon, Game Day's #1 pour. Evan Williams Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, Bardstown, Kentucky, 43 to 45% alcohol by volume. Enjoy responsibly, 21 and over. Paige Beckers is the only college basketball player, male or female, to beat 6 #1 seeds in the NCAA tournament.
Let me digest that. To beat 6 #1 seeds, so you can still be a #1 seed because you can do that in the Final Four or the final.
Over a career.
But are we saying there's 4 #1 seeds in the tournament?
I mean, she's there, 4 years?
She's 23. I think it's more so she's played in the NCAA tournament so many times and I guess beaten so many #1 seeds over the span of her career.
Because, mind you, she was a 2 seed, right? So you can add a couple more this year.
But how many #1 seeds
There
are
are
there?
4. There are 4 #1 seeds.
That's sort of cheating, isn't it?
You're not supposed to say the stat that Roy gave is bad.
I'm not saying it's a bad stat.
That's a Dan move.
No, I'm just asking for clarification.
Well, there's 4 #1 seeds, and sometimes those #1 seeds can get upset. So, sometimes the #1 seed might not make it to the final. You never know.
Beating 6 #1 seeds is
that
insane.
a major number?
Yeah, because that means you have to not only make it deep enough in the tournament to face these #1 seeds that often, but to beat 6 of them, not just having gone up against 6, but to have 6 wins over 1 seeds in the tournament, considering how good you have to be to get there, I don't know.
How many
Seems
losses
impressive
does
to
she
me.
have?
I don't know.
Come on.
It's not there.
It's not part of the stat of the
It's
day.
not part
At
of
least
Saturday.
2 off the top of my head, but
Oh, wait, right off the top?
Iowa and South Carolina, but I know I'm forgetting some from her younger seasons.
So the most 1 seeds you can beat in a given tournament is 3
Why can't you beat 4?
because you wouldn't face the other side. The 2 ones on the other side would face each other. So, if you're the 2 seed, for example, you're not a 1 seed. You'd beat the 1 seed in your bracket, and then you'd beat the 1 seed in the bracket that you go up against. So, Region 1 versus Region 2, and then you'd face the winner of Region 3 versus Region 4.
So you can beat 3.
You can beat 3. You can't beat 4 because there's always the one that's going to take out another 1. So 6
That's
is
a great stat.
impressive.
The most you can do is 3 per year. And so to do that, you'd have to win it all.
And if you're
And
a
you'd
1 seed, the most you can beat is 2.
Because you only in the Final Four in the final.
Yeah.
This year, Florida's a 1 seed. They're going for 2 defeats of a #1 seed. Tonight,
Yeah.
9 o'clock. Is it still 9 o'clock?
It's way too late.
No, I think they moved it up to 8:50 now. They're
Oh,
like, we'll
thank
give you
God.
20 minutes back. Guess what? I'm still gonna fall asleep before halftime.
I thought they were thinking of moving it to way earlier. Did I make
I don't know
that
if they're
up? Did
ever going to
anyone
move
read that?
it that far earlier.
Someone check on that for me. I thought that they were changing the time of the final game because it used to be after 9 p.m., and I thought they were moving it significantly
2100
earlier. Well, you don't have to say p.m. when you say 2100.
That's true, 2100
it's
hours.
Just 2100.
I found John McDonnell from Arkansas won 40 national championships. He was a track and field and cross country coach. 40 national championships. The track coaches really started accumulating them because second place Pat Henry has 35 national championships. Because you can win indoor and outdoor for men and women, and you can win cross country as well.
Compiler.
And he coaches all of them? One coach coaches all those teams?
I mean, yes, because cross country, I guess, is a little different. But like indoor and outdoor track and field, there's like a head coach. It's the same team. There's just 2 seasons. There's outdoor season and indoor season. So it's the same athletes just competing in different seasons, but there's national champions per season. So you can really rack up the national championships that way. Anson Dorrance of North Carolina, 21 national championships, women's soccer.
I think he just retired this past season.
I'm a snob for various reasons, but I feel like what Gino does, if you're a basketball coach, I feel like it's more important than being a track coach.
Wow.
And I'm a track guy.
Are you?
But I ran the hurdles. No one would do it. I was a short hurdle runner in high school, and I had great incentive to get over them. And so is that wrong of me to say that winning basketball titles is more important than track and field titles?
Yes.
I'm sorry. It's just, am I the only one who feels that way? Because then we have to change who the GOAT is. Gino's not even in the conversation. How many titles does he have? 11?
Yeah, I agree. He's not in the conversation.
Wow.
Yeah, he's out of the conversation now.
That's outrageous.
How about Dan Gable? He won 15 national championships in wrestling at Iowa. Wow. As a coach.
I do think building a powerhouse is... I wonder the difficulty of building a powerhouse in a sport that's lower revenue or not quite as nationally known, right? Because theoretically, if you're dominant in that way, it might be something that becomes easier. At the same time, without the resources to recruit, maybe it's even more impressive to be able to have something that sustains that way.
I can't be the only sports snob. I can't be. The guy who's the best bowler in the world, and I used to know his name, and it's not John Turturro from the movie, but it's...
You mean that I don't... Like, who
do you think you are? I am?
Oh, I mean...
That was famous.
Not him.
But no. I'm talking
Norm
about,
Duke?
No. I'll know it if it's one of those things you know it if you're... But no matter how good you are at bowling, you don't get to be in the conversation with LeBron.
Don Carter?
Don Carter.
Is that really who
Don Carter.
Yeah.
He was good.
Yeah, Paula Carter, a good bowler too.
But guess what? I don't care how good you are at bowling.
Pete Weber.
Pete
Yeah.
Weber was
Pete
really
Weber
good
was
also.
Pete
He
Web-
was good.
He was too rock and roll for bowling, if we're going to be honest with you. Wearing the sunglasses, doing the suck it sign. Pete Weber really a disgrace to the game of bowling.
He's trying, though. He's trying
Too
to
hard.
up the ante of bowling, which I respect.
No, let's just stick to the basics. Throw the ball down the lane. None of that spinny crap. You know what I mean? Straight down the middle. Put on your shoes. Even the gloves sometimes. I feel like the glove on the wrist sometimes goes a little too far. Nuts and bolts. Just go down there, throw the straight ball, knock down the 10 pins, sit down. Maybe congratulate your opponent at the end. That's all.
I'm working on a charity event.
Really?
I'm thinking about this. I'm trying to raise money to cure Parkinson's. My best friend has it, 123 Brett. And he never gets cured. He just gets worse every year. There is no cure. It's an absolute disaster. And all we do is raise money, and it doesn't work. But we're not going to give up. We're going to keep trying. I was thinking about a 24-hour bowl-a-thon.
That's
Bowl
how.
straight for 24 hours.
Can you take breaks?
Well, you don't bowl every... if you have 5 people on a team, you're only bowling once every 5. Like you've
But
been
like you can't stop in between games. You're just going over and
No,
over.
you bowl for 24 hours.
Why
so your
bowling?
potty break has to be in between.
There's plenty of time.
Okay, well it depends. Sometimes people are fast bowlers.
Well, but sometimes you have to wait. Like when you go get a drink at a bowling alley, sometimes your team has to wait for you.
So you could stretch out your games long enough that you're only going to play like 6 games over the span of 24 hours is what you're saying.
No, how do you stretch out a game to 4 hours?
I mean, it sounds
Go
like,
with my family.
you know.
Dislocated shoulder.
Well, I did think about if you bowl for 24 hours, I'm going to have to bowl lefty for part of the time. Because I don't think my right arm will be able to
Just use a lighter ball. Use like an 8-pounder instead of like a 12.
I think no matter what size ball you have, doing that motion over 24 hours is not tenable.
Why did you settle on bowling for this?
Great question. It's not settled. There's been a few things that are up in the air, like a dance-a-thon, a 24-hour dance-a-thon. There was a talk about doing a 24-hour. We did a 48-hour running race last year. That was good, but we're not in shape anymore. We don't want to run for 48 hours straight. So
Nap-a-thon?
So we talked about one time Brett, to raise money, did a lobster roll-a-thon. He ate 7 lobster rolls in 7 hours in 7 places. Raised like 50 grand too, and vomited. But it was a good one. Didn't cure Parkinson's though.
Too much mayonnaise.
He
Like you at the bar mitzvah.
He hasn't had a lobster roll since. Totally made him crazy. The thing about bowling for me, and the reason why, by the way, the domino tournament, for those of you who had tickets, just know it is postponed. It's not canceled. The Poppy's Domino Tournament with Ricky Williams was scheduled for April 13th. It's been postponed. Dan did a video on Twitter at Le Batard Show. If people watch that, him telling you about the postponed. Did anybody see that? Am I the only one still on X?
Yes, you are.
I am. Well,
Yes.
you didn't watch the video at all? No, we saw it. We're all on a team here. Is anyone paying attention
Was
to
it the
anything?
video where he made fun of his eyebrows?
Yes.
Okay, I did see that one.
But that's what you remember?
Yes, that was my takeaway. I was like,
So-
oh, he knows that something's going on up there.
The human brain is funny because what you remembered was the last second of the video only. The eyebrows was
Well, I
at
already
the end.
knew the beginning part.
Yeah.
But did you hear what he said about logistics people?
No.
Yeah, are you the logistics person?
Great question. Yes.
So he was saying he's going to fire you.
It certainly sounded that way to me.
Ah, okay.
I wanted to come here and be with you guys and do the
On
show
your last
today.
day?
Listen, he's in tomorrow, I believe, not today. So I believe I'm safe for today. And the reason I wanted to get the extra plug in for the postponement of the Domino's tournament was in an effort to maybe get back on his good side for having screwed up the logistics so badly. And I'm a logistics guy, but he's not easy.
So bowling.
24 hours. Would you guys fly to New York to do it? How much would you have to get paid? Or would you donate your time?
No, I would get paid.
When is it?
You'd have to get paid?
When
Yeah.
is it?
Well, thank you. I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
I just want to know your rate, and then I'll decide.
I'll let you know. We'll negotiate.
You're
Roy's rate is give him like a free shirt or food
Open
or
bar,
something.
No,
Roy's there.
no,
Yeah,
no,
Roy's
no,
there.
no.
You pay for his flight, open bar, free hotel, he's there.
Well, I'm not drinking currently, so no open bar.
We are going to have pop.
There you go.
All right, soda. Great.
Roy's in.
I don't say pop. I don't know why.
Give me
I
some
said
water.
I say pop.
that. You do?
Yeah.
Do you
People
say
make fun of me
bubbler?
for it. What?
Bubbler?
No.
Water fountain.
Yeah, I don't say that.
Yeah, people say bubbler. The reason why bowling is I think that we can get a lot of money, and more importantly, we can get bowling shirts that are unique, your own bowling shirts, and I was going to get some celebrities to sign bowling shoes and auction those off as well. Personalized bowling shoes.
What celebrities do you know that will actually sign these shoes?
Well, I think the 4 of you would sign.
Saquon Barkley was wondering why
Saquon
David was running
Barkley
around that
would
bar
sign.
mitzvah with a bowling shoe.
Saquon
Now we
Barkley
know.
would sign a bowling shoe.
Yeah.
He's very nice.
When
Very
is this?
charitable.
When's our target date here?
We're going to do
Or
it in
season?
September.
September. Ooh.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, is it a Saturday?
It's 24 hours. We would probably do it from Friday at 7 to Saturday at 7 in that
Are we
range.
talking 1900?
Shabbat.
Or?
No, 7
So
a.m.
that's an issue, but we're going to have to.
And we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
football
could have
season.
one lane where people are manually putting the pictures down.
Or just dropping it into the thing that does all the work for you.
Exactly.
Well,
right.
is
Perfect.
this, I'm confused. Is this a competition or just let's see if we can do it? Like, are there teams going up
Yes.
against each other and then, like, there's a winner at the end of this?
Yes. Everything's a competition.
Is the donation like gambling? So you can put in a donation with certain odds, and then you have to pay out other odds if your team loses. That could be
Love
kind of
where
fun.
your head's at, Jeremy. The donation, you have to raise a base amount for Michael J. Fox. We want to raise that to try to cure Parkinson's, but we are going to have it so that there will be prizes that will go to winning teams, teams who raise the most money, teams who bowl the best. We'll have a prize for the best individual game. I assume somebody will break 200 for sure. I've
I
only
think
done
this
that
is actually a
once.
really good idea. I like 24-hour because especially with bowling, like there are so many built-in breaks that I think you're in good shape here. I think this is a smart thing to do. Can I get the flight paid for?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyone
Then I
who
might
gets
be there.
anyone
I could
who
do that.
flies in who is a celebrity,
I think
gets their travel paid
anytime you
Appreciate
bring
you
up
calling me a celebrity.
24-hour anything with this show, there's immediate red flags that are going to be raised.
No peppers, right?
Cory Booker made it look so easy compared to how hard it was for us, right?
Yeah.
He did it for 20. He
incredible.
broke the record.
Yeah, he made it look so much simpler than we did.
Well, he had notes.
He did have notes.
We have-
nothing
Why
stopped
did-
us from
yeah,
having
why didn't we
notes.
have notes?
It wasn't a surprise.
We did have notes, by the way. That whole fiasco was very planned out from a logistics standpoint, from a everything else standpoint.
You'd be surprised to hear how
Yeah.
many meetings went into that.
It's the last time we
was-
ever had meetings.
This was before I was with Metal Arc. Nothing Personal was not a part of Metal Arc at that point. And I remember watching you guys do that, thinking to myself, I want to do this. I want to broadcast for 24 hours. I want to do something. That's why I love the 48-hour runs. I love the overnight ultras.
40-hour runs after was actually why it was not going to happen again.
Well, there's obviously a lot of reasons why it may or
Pepper
may not
diarrhea
happen
joke,
again.
David.
Yes, I got it. I'm trying to not bring that up again as something that happened. But what I am trying to bring up is the whole idea of raising money through something that is hard to do, but anyone could do. Anyone can bowl for 24 hours if they choose. Anyone can be on the floor of the Senate for 25 hours. It doesn't take.
not
Yes.
really.
Yes.
Anyone.
Any senator.
Any senator. Well, you said anyone. You didn't
Anyone can
specifically say
talk.
senator.
There are people who Twitch like for 7 hours in a row, one stream playing video games. There are people, I bet you there's someone who plays, right now, I bet you there's someone in the world in the middle of a 24-hour video game bender. What was the guy who got paid to watch a show? It was a huge thing. I should have prepped this. I didn't think I'd think of it. Do you remember that he couldn't get out of his couch? He had to watch every episode of a show, and he ended up getting super sick because he went crazy. He couldn't stand up. You'll think of it. You'll get back to me. Jeremy's
I
checking.
have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, you get like bed sores or
You
something?
do know what I'm talking about because it was very easily said. I'm talking about someone who would watch every episode of a show straight through, not able to move.
In 2021, Alexander Townley, a UK resident, gained notoriety for being paid $6,804 to watch every episode of The Simpsons and receive complimentary donuts. But there's no indication he got sick as part of the job. Of course, this is via Google AI, which is probably wrong.
30 seasons. Dude, that's crazy. Wow.
I feel like the donut thing is why he got sick. I mean,
Did he have to eat a donut every hour? Be a lot of donuts.
Doing some research.
it's a lot of
Have you
donuts.
thought about an eating challenge? We talked about that
No,
as well.
don't do
That's
that.
the whole.
And I don't mean the
yeah.
pepper thing.
No,
I'm
don't
talking
do any
about
of those.
like I had a Hostess cupcake the other day. I hadn't had one of
What?
those since childhood.
Thoughts?
Do you ever eat food from your childhood that you have not eaten in decades and then you just do it?
No, because I just stopped eating it at some point.
No, but I'd stopped eating Hostess cupcakes and then I saw them at the checkout and I said, you know what? I just went to the doctor. I
It's
had
never
great
as good as you
results.
remember, right? I saw an article in Eater about a woman who really liked Smart Food popcorn and said that she felt like it hadn't been as just flavorful as her recollection of it. And she did a whole investigation, TLDR. It just doesn't taste the same as it used to. It wasn't just her imagination. It's not the same formula or something.
The Miami-Dade Youth Fair came back, and as a child, I used to love the fried dough, the elephant ears. Yeah. Had one the day before. As great as I remember. Really? Yeah.
It's probably they didn't change the ingredients.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Or the oil.
fried,
Oh, the oil. Well, they
fried
probably
dough.
did change the oil.
It's
I don't
gonna be
think
fried
so.
dough.
It's the same oil from like 30 years ago.
Yeah, that oil you don't change.
It's probably the same pan from 30 years
Yeah.
ago.
It probably is.
That's what you're supposed to do. I'd never have done that because I don't barbecue or cook at all. But you're supposed to keep it dirty, that somehow the flavors stay in it and it helps your food.
Yeah, they do that for deep dish pizza in Chicago, right? They use the pan, and they don't clean it. They don't change it out or anything.
I think that's just probably a cast iron pan, right?
Yeah,
Like, you
cast
keep
iron,
the
yeah.
seasoning on it.
I think it's gross.
I know it's delicious.
It's definitely gross,
I don't
but it's
understand.
delicious.
I don't think it's
when you
gross.
think about it, it's
you're
disgusting.
heating it at like 450 degrees. There's nothing like living on it.
But under that theory, then you wouldn't have to wash anything.
No.
Because if you're cooking, like any pan you cook in, any pot that you cook
well, you
stuff in.
clean like the residue out of it, but you don't scrub it with soap and water every time you use it.
The burnt cheese, you got to get out of there.
And I always have to soak it I always try to quickly eat when there's cheese on the plate that's been microwaved for something. I eat quickly or transfer plates to clean the plate immediately. Otherwise, it hardens up, and then you're stuck with a dish in your sink.
Well, you
for
do
extra
that.
time.
You eat it too quickly, though, you're going to end up burning the roof of your mouth, and that's not good.
You just put your tongue on it. Tongue on the top of the mouth. There's a little trick that you'll all have. You'll never burn your mouth or get brain freeze again. If you get brain freeze with ice cream, just stick your tongue to the roof of your mouth.
Turns out this guy was hired by a website to watch every episode of The Simpsons because there had been so many coincidences of them predicting the future that they wanted someone who could watch every single episode, take notes of every single episode, and send it back to this website to see if it correlated with anything that also got predicted in the future.
I believe that Simpsons have said that Trump would die on April 12th of 2025. And that was prior to him being president. It was a Simpsons episode, and Jeremy, I may have this wrong because this is another weird overnight brain thing, but I believe the Simpsons have done a lot of predicting of a lot of things, and they had an episode of Trump in a casket on April 12th, not knowing, of course, that the tariffs would happen and not knowing that the market, please everyone be calm. The markets are open. Can we get an update? I'm not even looking at my phone. I assume the markets, the futures were down. There was going to be a 1,500-point drop on the open. Did it happen?
The Times of India has reported that clip is fake.
Of the Dow Jones?
Of the Trump death prediction.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, the Times of
I
India.
thought they did a bunch of predicting.
They
do,
have done
but
a bunch of predicting, but this one I think is AI generated. Let's find out together.
It is incredibly frustrating how many times I get caught thinking that something I see is true.
Deception sucks.
The Dow dropped 1,000 points.
I want everyone to be calm. Let me give 2 words on the tariffs, if you don't mind. There's a lot of misunderstanding out there, if you'll join me, and a lot of misunderstanding on how to deal with your 401k plan or your savings. Do not panic sell. I'm not giving you investment advice. I'm just giving you real-world, long-time advice from someone who's been around the block.
Don't panic sell. Don't panic, comma.
Selling low and buying high is how you get poor. Just keep that in mind. And this is what people do. They look at their accounts today, and they say, oh, my God, I've lost a couple grand. Panic, I'm putting it in my mattress. The only thing that guarantees you losing money when the market's down is you cashing out at that point. Again, not investment advice, just smart advice. The tariff situation is an interesting one because the reason the markets are down is not because of what Trump did with tariffs. The markets are down because of Trump misleading the markets and people into what the tariffs would be. And the market does not like confusion.
Trump misleading people. Wow.
Doesn't like that. Markets don't like
world?
that. It can happen.
It's so rare.
The market prices in certain things. They price in certain things with interest rates, certain things with tariffs. And markets then are stable. Things are priced in, you read about that. The reason why it's been such a nightmare is that what was expected with the Trump tariffs did not come to pass. He went way deeper, went way higher. And, of course, all the stuff about the tariffs of penguins and all of that stuff, that's not really relevant to your 401k or relevant to the actual potential pending recession. So I would just encourage everyone not to panic. You guys seem pretty good. Is that because you don't care?
No, it's because we don't have money.
Well, we don't have a 401k either.
Well, but if you have any money in a bank,
We don't have a 401k
savings.
match.
I believe you do have 401k as a benefit of Meadowlark because you're an employee. You can put money into a 401k, and no matter how much money you're making, you'll find this maybe hard to relate to, but don't. When I first started working, I would save $1 a month. $1 a month went into savings. So I don't happen to agree with whatever you're postulating that you can't save.
So in the episode Boy Meets Curl in 2010, it seems as though The Simpsons predicted that in 2018 at the Winter Olympics, the American men's curling team, the first ever one, would win the gold medal. And that's what happened. Pretty impressive, huh?
Also, Jeremy's not an employee.
Yeah, that's true.
Got to work on that.
You know that you can still, Jeremy, little word of advice, you don't have to be an employee to save money. You can start an IRA a self-employment IRA.
Yeah,
How
I
about
got
we
it.
just hire him? How about
Yeah,
that?
I got it. It's fine. In the episode Bart to the Future, they mentioned that the U.S. president was arrested, which is believed to predict Trump's arrest in 2023. The guy with the tariffs. The Day the Violence Died, aired in 1996, reportedly predicted the United States Capitol attack. Midnight RX in 2005 reportedly predicted the legalization of recreational marijuana in Canada, which was made official in October of 2018. There were several others, including Siegfried and Roy and the Tiger attack. Lisa Goes Gaga in 2012, which ultimately seemingly predicted the outfit for the 2017 Super Bowl halftime show for Lady Gaga. So, ton of stuff going on here with The Simpsons, David.
The tiger attack thing, that seems an easy one to predict.
Yeah.
If you're going to live your life with tigers, if you're Siegfried and Roy and you're trying to domesticate wild animals, I think Ron McGill would likely agree you can't do that.
In 2010, a character in Elementary School Musical predicted that Bengt Holmstrom and Ben Feringa would win the Nobel Prize, and then they both won the Nobel Prize in 2016. So I think that's an impressive one. Predicting Nobel Prize winners is pretty cool. 6 years ahead.
I think that can be fixed.
And we think The
Probably.
Simpsons fixed it.
The power of The Simpsons and our friend Hank Azaria. Maybe he got absolutely involved in who's winning Nobel Peace Prizes.
So is the cupcake good? Are you going to eat another one, or it wasn't what you were expecting?
It was plasticky,
Oh.
and I used to love the cream filling and the way it was, and the not having taste hurts, but it tasted like cardboard.
Oh, okay. So that definitely.
And so
affected
that
it, yeah.
impacted it. And then I said to myself, do I try the Twinkie? I used to love Yodels and Twinkies and Ho-Hos, and I haven't had any of those in decades. Yeah. But I think I may go for... I never ate these snowflakes. I don't know if you had those. Those may have been gone by the time you were born.
Well, without taste, I mean, all you
Now it's just a waste.
basically feel is the oil that they use to make this stuff. So, not great.
The cupcakes were so good, and they were cheap. Now they're not. It was like $3.50 for the 2 cupcakes.
Tariffs.
That is all about tariffs. Or maybe it's the price of ingredients. Although I don't think there's any food in them. I assume it's all chemicals. I looked
Yeah.
at
All the oils that went into the filling, all the oils that went into the actual pastry portion of it. Yeah.
In the episode that aired in 2010, September 26, Krusty the Clown invited Homer to the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony, while Marge and Lisa went to a performing arts camp for the week. Interestingly enough, the episode featured guest appearances by Leah Michele, Amber Riley, and Corey Monteith of Glee. So
So it was your favorite episode ever?
yeah, it turns out it was my favorite Simpsons episode.
I'm going to argue it's
And
the
Glee's a more
greatest show
transcendent
ever.
comedy than The Simpsons.
He just wanted to talk about Glee, Billy.
That
You
didn't
like that
predict
take?
anything. You just telling us about a Glee episode.
Yeah, I wanted you to know about it. One of the top tier comedies of our time.
Was Letterman with a sandwich for laughs.
So honestly, thrilled to be doing this with you
Thanks.
because I have admired your work. You are just such a sculptor. You're an artist as a comedian. It's sort of the
Why, thank you.
well, the craft of it. It's such a hard way to make a living, Jay. I don't even understand how you make a living that way. I really don't. You have to be demented to choose, you know what? I'm going to laugh my way to the top. I'm going to take the expectation of funny, and that's how I'm going to get rich. Get out of here. It's crazy.
It seems sort of second nature to me. You know, I think it's one of those things. If it's what you like to do, it just comes. You know, I remember when I was in college, I'm dyslexic, so I would get out of any sort of written things, and I was taking speech therapy. And I remember the professor said, now at the end of the class, each student will have to give a 20-minute talk. And people went, 20 minutes? Oh my God, I get done. I thought, I'll do it right now. I'll talk for 20 minutes. Yeah, let's do this. You know? So it just struck me as funny.
But you could be funny in an instant? You knew that this was something...
No, not funny. I had to give a 20-minute talk. I mean, I didn't have a routine. I wasn't a comedian yet, but it just seemed natural. I mean, I always read that getting eaten by a shark and public speaking are the two things most people are afraid of, you know, that kind of stuff.
But not you, right? Like that, you didn't need attention, right? An audience just didn't scare you, right? Even though you were dyslexic, even though...
No, it didn't scare me. It didn't scare. You know what's interesting? A lot of people don't realize, you remember the Smothers Brothers, right?
Yes.
Well, Tommy Smothers was dyslexic, and they were folk singers, but Tommy would get the songs wrong. Michael, boat the row ashore. No, it's row the what? And they made it part of their act, and that's kind of how they became a sort of funny comedy singing team, you know.
How do you watch stand-up comics? Because I imagine you are watching not just to laugh, but to see where the comic's insecure, where the comic looks off stage or looks at his feet. I imagine.
No, not really. I watch it just to enjoy it. You know, I like comedy. I enjoy watching comedians. You have to be careful when you're a comedian because someone does a joke and then you realize you never want to be on stage and that subject comes up and your mind immediately goes to that person. So you have to be careful not to try and take somebody else's material. You know, that's sort of the biggest trick. A lot of times you don't want to watch comedians do routine on a particular subject because if you're developing something along the same line, oh, now you can't do yours because it's too close to theirs or whatever it might be. But no, I watch it. You know, it's like I like to make love, but I don't want to be a gynecologist. You know what I mean? So I enjoy it just being, you know, just being around it and being with comics. It's always fun.
You came up through the pipeline of where stand-up comedy was born, right? Like, I mean, you're almost at the roots, Jay. I mean, I don't know if it's Pryor and Carlin, but coming up through the LA comedy circuit, coming up through the comedians, when you were writing with David Letterman for J.J. Walker, right? Like coming up through the Comedy Store. Can you take me through the path of what you imagined your career was going to be and how it is that you arrived? And like, I can't even imagine getting from there to the Tonight Show.
Well, I'm a huge believer in low self-esteem. I think it's the key to success. If you don't think you're the smartest person in the room, you're more likely to listen and pay attention. I mean, when I was doing the Tonight Show, I constantly meet people who were geniuses. People say, you know, my client is a genius, but the people at the network were afraid he'd be too good. You know, I get that all the time. Or I get comedians who audition for the Tonight Show, and they didn't quite have them. They were close, and their agent would say, you're scared because you know if my client kills, he could take your job. No, I want your client to do well. It's just that, you know, talking about Reagan's trip to Pittsburgh 30 years later, it's not really timely anymore, okay? Can you try to update the material? Oh, and then people get furious. So there's all sorts of reasons why. But I think the key is I was always happy at whatever level I was at. I mean, I used to have a day job and then be a comedian at night, and I would bank one and spend the other. And then when the comedian money got to be pretty good, I quit the other job. And I thought, I'm making a living as a comedian, because it's probably a sad reflection on our society, but the worst comedian in the world still makes more than the best teacher, which seems hardly fair, but that's just the way it is. And so I always was able to make a living, and it was okay. Each year got a little better than the year before, and that was okay. You know, it's so funny. Whenever I watch these shows about, there's a couple of them on Netflix and HBO about comedians, it's a backbiting, horrible business, and everybody hates one another. And that wasn't the case at all. I mean, I got where I was thanks to Steve Martin and Johnny Carson and Harvey Korman. And consequently, when I got a little success, I brought Johnny Carson in to see Ellen DeGeneres and some other comedians as well. And you can't do every job every day. So I've always found comedians to be extremely supportive. You know, whenever one of us, by one of us, I mean Letterman or me or Seinfeld or even Robin Williams, if you watch my first Tonight Show from 1977, you hear this in the back laughing in the audience. It's Robin. Robin was sitting in the audience, kind of helping me out and giving me a little encouragement, you know. And consequently, when those guys did the Tonight Shows, we all went and would laugh it up for them, whether it was Merv Griffin or, you know, Mike Douglas or any of those shows. So it's actually quite a nice way to make a living. I mean, yes, there are horrible people in it, I suppose, but I didn't run into too many of them. I met far more nice people than bad people.
What do you regard as the happiest time in your professional life? Because I remember, I don't know how many times you appeared on Letterman. I remember a stand-up act specifically that for some reason I don't know whether it was discovering you, I guess, but you were on stage and you did something about Mr. Universe, and you held your fingers under your chin, and you made some other interplanetary weightlifter was furious because we had decided that
I should have won. I should have. I got that bit, yeah. Something about how did Venus win? I should have won. It was how they have Mr. Universe. If there's the happiest time. Yesterday was pretty good, but the happiest time was probably when I was doing Letterman show every month. About every 4 weeks, I do a Letterman show, and it was the first time that I got to be on with a contemporary, because like with Johnny Carson. Like when it seemed, oh, hi, Mr. Carson, call me Johnny. Well, when you grow up in New England, you don't call parents by their first name. Jay, these are my parents, Bob and Agnes. Oh, hi, Bob. No, I'm Mr. and Mrs. Minicelli. How are you? Nice to meet you. So to me, it was always weird doing Merv Griffin or Mike Douglas or any of those shows, because I was talking to an adult and I was essentially a kid. And then finally, when Letterman got a show, I could want to go, hey, Dave, nice tie, Dave. What a dump this studio is. And just, trash, which you couldn't do with Johnny just out of respect or out of deference, So that was the most fun to me. And you really got a chance to be yourself. The fun thing about doing Letterman in those early days was making Letterman laugh on the way to the joke as opposed to the joke. Letterman was a guy who always got nervous before he went on stage. I didn't get nervous. So one day I was eating a sandwich and Letterman stops me and goes, how can you eat that sandwich? You're on in 5 minutes. Get rid of that stupid sandwich. I said, oh, no. This is going to be great. So I went down, I got another meatball sandwich, just an enormous, and I walked out and said, Dave, try this. And I put the sandwich on his desk, and of course the meatballs getting all over everything. And Dave was just, acted flustered. And I said, Dave, try this meatball. I'm not eating that disgusting meatball. And we had so much fun because it was all ad-libbed, and it was happening in the moment. So if I had to pick the most exciting part of my career, that was probably it. That whole 3-year, 4-year period of just constantly doing Letterman all the time and going on, writing material literally the day before and then going on and doing it. So yeah, that would certainly be it.
I don't know if you've examined this, because I regard you as someone who generally comes from a happier place from with comedy, or a better relationship with comedy, where Letterman seemed it was colder, or that, he would be a little miserable, or some of the negative feelings. He wasn't quite as comfortable ever, and it was part of his charm and funny. But you had a unique access to such a time in late night television where these cathedrals exist, and you elevated yourself into a place where you're telling me now as we talk that the Tonight Show and doing it, even though it was the greatest of ambitions, was somehow less fun than a time in television where you and Letterman could just screw around and not worry about anything.
Well, yeah, you kind of answer your own question. It's true, where you could just be yourself and screw around. What's funny, because when you start out in comedy, you go to the comedy club and you have your act down in your head and how you're going to do it, And then afterwards, all the comedians would go out to eat to one of the popular Cantors or a deli or something, and you'd get the big table, you'd order food. Then you'd all sit around, you'd talk about the act and what was funny, what worked. And, people would help you, you'd help them. But then something kind of interesting would happen. You'd find you had even funnier stories just riffing with the guys. And you realize, hey, I'm getting laughs here, but there's no punchline. There's no real ending to it. There's no beginning. It's just a funny story. And that's what was something I was able to bring the Letterman show, because before you sort of write joke, tell joke, get check, real simple, Whereas with Letterman, the fun was always on the way to the joke. I remember it. And I don't think I ever got to the team, but I went on Letterman's show. Letterman, what did you get up to? I said, oh, Dave, I was out at the old Manson place the other day. Just want to see the guys, see what they've been up to since the massacre. It's kind of laying low. And the old Manson place, where you just, yeah, Dave, you know Charlie and the guy. And, we're just talking like this, like as if they were, not horrible murderers. And it was really funny, and people laughed, and there was no ending. There was no beginning. Oh, we just went to commercial break.
Thinking Big with Kevin Hart.
I'm very excited about doing
I've done a lot of things wrong, and I know it. Self-inflicted wounds are the worst. The Pittsburgh Pirates this weekend had a self-inflicted wound, the likes of which you don't see happen in sports very often. We're talking about Roberto Clemente. We're talking about the nightmare of having to do 2 statements, not one, 2 statements to explain the idiocy of honoring Roberto Clemente with an outfield wall plaque, removing it, putting a sponsor instead, and not telling the Clemente family. So many layers to this. Let me start with the most interesting one to me. The Clemente family is high maintenance. You know that going in. They need communication. They need understanding. They want to be front and center. They deserve to be because of Roberto Clemente, but you got to know your customer. If you're the Pirates, you can't do something regarding Roberto Clemente without telling Roberto Clemente's family. And they violate it right off the top.
So it was moved. It was moved, right? It wasn't completely replaced. It was moved.
Taken down.
That's the dumbest thing. That's terrible.
They still have a statue. They have other ways that they've honored him.
They have a ton of ways.
Yeah.
But that doesn't change. And what the president of the team tried to say was, hey, listen, totally sorry, but we have a 21-foot wall. We've got so many things that we've done for Roberto.
A bridge.
A bridge. It's a really cool bridge.
But the number's retired. The number needs to be there. Straight up.
Well, there's different places the 21 is. This was an extra thing that was put because there was an available space, but they forgot to just be honest with the family and say, hey, we're giving you a little extra. We're just putting it right there, but we're trying to sell it. And once we do, we're removing it. They didn't communicate. And then they sent out their PR head to do a statement Saturday, doubling down. And then they sent out their president Sunday saying, sorry, our bad, my mistake. He wore it. I had to wear so much as team president, so much that I had nothing to do with that I would just wear.
What was the worst one that was like akin to something like this? Because this is about as bad as it gets, right? Like you're disrespecting not only a legend of the Pirates, but a legend of baseball that is celebrated across the league, and you're coming off the heels of what just happened with the government website and Jackie Robinson, and so everyone is feeling the effects of like history of our great players of color being erased. There's all of it. Is there anything that you ever dealt with that was even close to what this type of ire that you're sort of going out in front and taking the heat on?
Certainly got ire, Jeremy. I would say that what we did with Carl Barger and unretiring his number, we didn't do that probably the way we should have, and I had to take that even though I had nothing to do with it. But I had to wear that one. That's
even though
job,
it wasn't your decision to make.
No, it was not. Listen, that's your job. When you run a company for an owner or for a founder, you're the meat shield. You have to take stuff that you don't deserve to take, but you do it, you smile, and you say it's your fault. Trevor Williams, the president of the Pirates, he had to take this. But to me, what bothers me about what happened is that he was in that position to start with. When you're a president of a team, you know exactly what your inventory is, your sales inventory. You know exactly what you're doing. When you're doing a deal with Surfside, that deal doesn't get done without the president signing the deal.
And so what upsets you is that he made that decision and didn't communicate it to the Clementes, right?
I'm perfectly fine with the decision to sell because everyone wants the
so
Pirates
long as
to
you
raise
communicate
revenue.
with the family that you
Just communicate.
worked with.
It's one call. And by the way, the Clemente family, easy to reach. It's not like reaching someone who's disappeared into the Netherlands without cell service.
And that was part of the Clemente's statement, by the way, was that basically their frustration wasn't even the decision, which I think we should be frustrated by the decision. You know, you make a decision to honor a player, even if there are other ways that you've honored the player around a ballpark. You've honored him in this public way that everyone can see when a ball is hit down that right field line, and now you're removing it to sell and make more money when you're a franchise in the Pirates that we know their fans are frustrated with them to begin with. But the statement from the Clementes included the specific nature of the Pirates continue to do these things not only without consulting us, but without sort of consulting their fan base at large.
Well, a couple things. The statement is on the screen if you're watching this live on YouTube. If you're listening, we have a statement from the Clemente family. So I don't agree. The fan base at large is not a factor For me, I don't need to go to the fan base when I'm doing things like this. I need to go to the family, and I don't need to do it publicly. I can do it privately because then I've got the ability to say publicly, hey, I did that. It's a very much check-the-box thing. The Clemente family is a very big check-the-box family.
If you were wanting to make this decision, though, right, and the Clemente family had an issue with it, then what? How does that conversation go for you in that spot as the president of the team, right? Like, Are you actually going for a conversation where you're actually caring what they have to say, or is it just checking the box?
It's just checking the box.
Well, why don't you give the Clementes like the opportunity to match what Surfside was going to pay to continue to honor their father in that one spot?
They wouldn't. They couldn't. Totally. That's very nice. That's nice. We'd like to give you the right to match. We've sold the behind the plate. We would do this if you have open inventory and you don't want to make it look like there's open inventory. So let's say behind plate signage. There are approximately 18 units to be sold each baseball game. Half an inning. You buy half an inning behind the plate. You have a rate card. You sell it. But what if you have 3 half innings that aren't sold? You go to your existing partners and you say, hey, we're gonna throw you an extra half inning. We love you. We're not going to charge you more. But once we sell it, we're taking back that half inning.
Thank you for your business type deal.
That's it. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you. So this Clemente thing, this one area on the wall was just a, hey, we got nothing else there. We're trying to have something there. But the problem is they chose to do it with a family that is very, very much a keep score family.
But even if they weren't a keep score family, like this would be a problem, I would think, for any franchise, given the value of the specifics of the player. Like, if someone's pointing it out on social media and there's a conversation that happens, you think that essentially this goes totally unnoticed if you don't have a family that's actively participating in that legacy?
Let's face it, what brought this to a bubble was the Clemente statement, but then the Pirates dealt with it so badly. The Clementes do this. It's known around baseball. Like, there's certain families, there's certain people from the history of the game who are higher maintenance than others. Roberto Clemente is one of arguably the second greatest story of any baseball player ever behind Jackie Robinson. I would say that's 1, 2.
Right.
And I think that's a fair assessment of it. And the Clementes are celebrated. The family is brought to events. Baseball pays for them to go to events. There's a whole level of support that is deserving. But the family of other superstars do not necessarily get that support. But you got to know your customer. And that's what the Pirates, to me, did the most wrong, is they forgot. It's a simple phone call. It's Williams calling the family, and you never, with the Clementes, you don't have an account executive do it. You go, it's the top. You have to know there's certain people who can be contacted by lower level people and certain people where they have to hear from the owner, and you just have to know it. And so it just bothered me what the Pirates did, because the Pirates are getting a bunch of crap over their payroll, over their lack of revenue, and the fact that they don't win. And now this just makes it worse.
Who's the highest maintenance family that you've had to deal with?
The highest maintenance family that I personally had to deal with. The Alis were actually great. There was a lot to do. When you say high maintenance, I think pejorative. Don't you?
You've said they're kind of annoying to deal with, basically.
Yes.
So who, I guess, is the most annoying? Because, this sounds terrible, but the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm kind of like, there's still a lot of ways Roberto Clemente is honored in this stadium. In fact, there's a number 21 about 5 feet away from the ad that replaced the other 21. Like, there's 21s everywhere here.
It's everywhere. If you've been to PNC Park, you can't turn around without having Roberto Clemente as part of the conversation.
It's not like they erased his legacy. They sold an ad on one of the many places that they put his name and number.
You're very right, and I think that is important to sort of distinguish from the conversation we were having a couple of weeks ago and this one when I just brought up the Jackie Robinson thing, because those are two very, very, very different conversations that we're having. This is not completely erasing Roberto Clemente's legacy at behest of some governmental intervention. This is a totally different thing. At the same time, I do think people have a right to be frustrated by hey, here's this thing. We're already a franchise and a fan base that's frustrated, right? In a general sense. Then we've got this history, this pillar of not just a player, but a person that we all admire that's celebrated in this specific way. And now, so that the owner, who we're already frustrated with for not spending money, can make an extra quick buck, we're going to eliminate this thing that is a very public display of our love for our franchise's most beloved person. I think people have a right to be frustrated by that. I understand your perspective, David, which is your frustration stems most from how could the president have handled this differently and in a way that wouldn't have caused such a stink for baseball, for his team.
It's embarrassing.
But for a fan perspective, for someone who is a fan of the Pittsburgh Pirates, their frustration is a different one, which is really like that's how we're going to go ahead and erase something that matters to all of us, even if it's one of several different public displays. One of the public displays of our love of our hero is now going away so that we could sell it for some seltzer.
Are you sure about that, Jeremy? Because if the Pirates right now were 9-2 and the Dodgers with a high payroll, would this have happened? Or is it the fact that the Pirates are
the fans?
It's a matter of all of it.
The fans hate this ownership group,
right?
Separate from this thing, so they are never going to give them the benefit. 100%. If you walk around in Pittsburgh, you will see shirts that say "Sell the team, Bob Nutting."
So that's the whole thing, that you can't give a fan base a reason. They're going to find their own reasons if the team doesn't perform, if you're not signing players who fans want you to sign. But that's why I called it a self-inflicted injury.
That's right.
And you have to avoid those if you're in a position the way the Marlins are and were, the way the Pirates are. You've got to avoid self-inflicted injuries.
Well, I wonder if for the Pirates and sort of sticking within that theme, we saw some contract extensions in Major League Baseball like over the last week that I found really interesting. Not just Vlad Guerrero, who signs this mammoth deal that we could get into, but it's some of the other guys, right? It's and I forget the name of the player who just signed with the Red Sox.
Campbell?
Yes, Campbell, who signed an 8-year, $60 million deal. You see Jackson
With as
Merrill.
much experience that you have.
Right. I mean, he's barely played at the major league level. There's Jackson Merrill, who just signed a massive deal in San Diego. A different conversation than you're having because he at least had a full year of Major League Baseball. But I'm really intrigued by those types of deals for markets like Pittsburgh, like theoretically Miami in the future. We saw Tampa do a little bit of this at different points in their run.
Started
which
with
is,
Evan Longoria.
Right. He's the first one I can ever remember as one
John
of these
Singleton
contracts.
was first.
Wow. Okay. That's a throwback of a name.
Well, by the way, he stunk.
Yeah.
It was a complete waste of money.
But so that's the question I guess I have, which is we've seen a few franchises here recently in the Padres and the Red Sox, two teams that think they're good and should be for the foreseeable future, but teams locking up young stars and buying them out of arbitration. Do you think that that's like a trend that you're going to see more of, or is this just sort of a conglomeration of circumstances that led to all of these individual guys being signed at this time?
I want to educate everyone on this because it is one of the biggest mistakes that people in media make, and Jeremy, you are now never going to make it again. Those players are all signed players.
Correct.
So when you read that, Campbell,
extended.
So interesting. What it's guaranteed cost certainty. When you sign a player through arbitration, that's all you're doing. Is you are taking arbitration out of the zeitgeist of that player's career, and that player is getting money, but he's signed. Every time you have a player who's a rookie, you have him on a 6-year contract.
Right.
You just don't know what it's worth, but you have him on 6 years. When you give money up front and guarantee it, you ask for free agent years. And it used to be that you would get free agent years at a discount when you sign these contracts to young players. That's now gone away. Players don't give the discount anymore. They want the guarantee of arbitration years, and they want free agency at a number where they have to perform at a high level all the way through pre-free agency and then be in the open market healthy. It's insane.
So I guess my question would be, for example, with Campbell, right? He's come up, he's performed, he signs this 8-year, $60 million, but the 8-year, $60 million deal. What you're saying is the 8 years, he was already supposed to be under contract for 6. You're now guaranteeing exactly what the money is going to be in that stretch for a player who otherwise, if they didn't perform, might not reach the salary level that they're going to reach in those 6 years. And so it's 6 plus an extra 2 seasons on top of that, and then he could be a free agent.
That's exactly right.
Right.
And so what the player is trading is those 2 years of free agency to lock up what they have now. And I can go down the list of players who have signed these deals, and it's been a disaster for the team. We can go all the way to Kingery of Philadelphia. We can go to Jimenez and Robert of the White Sox. We can go to, starting way back with Singleton, going to some of the players who are in them now who just end up disappearing, but you don't realize it, but they're being paid the major league rate in the minor leagues because they got guaranteed money. And why are teams doing this? Why do they feel the need? Because they want cost certainty in an era when revenue certainty is so uncertain. It doesn't make smart business sense. When you're in a market where you're worried about what is going to happen with expenses, with your money, the key is to have no fixed expenses. And this in your life is what you should do. Only have variable expenses that you can get out of. A fixed expense is something that no matter what happens in your life, you have to pay that money each month or each year. And
So mortgage, right?
A mortgage is a fixed expense, not variable. A variable expense is your entertainment money, or money if you take your vacation fund, or if you or even if you put away money for different types of food. All of that can be variable.
So this is all about budgeting.
It's all about budgeting. And what baseball teams do is they want these expenses fixed so they know exactly what they will pay Campbell, because they view that as smarter than keeping it variable, where if he has a great year, you could have to pay him more. If he has a bad year, you'd be able to pay him less. Their view is, screw it, we're going to make it a fixed expense. My view always was, I disagree with that. I'm okay with variable because then I'm paying for performance.
Well, and then you're just getting rid of them by the time you would need to pay them, right? Because that often seems to be the thing, right? When I'm talking about teams like the Pirates or the Marlins or whoever in the future, theoretically, this would be the way that a smaller market team could hold on to their stars in the long run. We just
Why?
saw...
There's no discount, Jeremy.
Well, no, that's my question, right?
Yeah, there's no discount.
But... So, for example, signing Sandy Alcantara when the Marlins did to the contract they did, which I believe was like 5 years, around $55 million. Are you saying that didn't save them any sort of money?
So it's a great question. How much time did he miss?
Well, he missed a year, and a pitcher is a different conversation,
So
obviously.
he was paid as though he didn't miss a year. People are talking about this contract of how great it is. He's only at 17. Go look at what he would be in the system.
Sure, but the pitcher part of it, I guess, is a different conversation because we end up having guys who miss full seasons in that respect at a far higher rate than what you see for position players. But there's Cal Raleigh. There's Jackson Churio signed one of these a couple years ago. The famous example is Ozzie Albies, who signed for way cheaper than anyone would have anticipated. And to me, I guess what I've always viewed this as something that is team-friendly, that allows a player to guarantee themselves some money before they would hit the giant contract in their prime. Is that not the reality of how teams look at it?
When we get lucky. We got lucky with Yelich, had a team-friendly deal. And then teams feel badly when it's team-friendly, and then they give raises and increases and extensions to players because they feel like they took advantage. When players don't give you money back when they stink, when they're hurt, they keep the guaranteed money.
So how would you say you handled Giancarlo Stanton?
That's actually a different story. The Giancarlo Stanton story is that we were trying to change the narrative of you, the fans, in Miami.
Oh, it's our fault?
It was your fault, totally.
Oh, great.
Totally your fault. As a matter of fact, it was more Billy and Mike. But Roy, you were right. You were right in there.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, Billy, it was your fault.
I'm blamed for you trying to change the narrative you created?
Exactly. I would have been very happy to keep my narrative going.
You could have.
Yeah, but you made me crazy.
I did. Oh.
You were making me crazy year after year, saying, "Hey, are you congratulating him, Jessica?"
I did just say congrats.
Yeah, for real.
When the microphone was on, I
That's
couldn't hear it,
every
but I could
fan's
read
dream
you.
is to actually get under the skin of the ownership that they maybe don't support in their city. So
Well,
congrats.
Billy did it. Congrats. I don't know if we have a noise that I could hit that's a congratulations noise. I don't know where it is. Let me just see. Isn't that more of a top 5 noise?
It's a congratulations noise as well.
But you
It's kind of
didn't-
dual purpose.
You didn't let me go unscathed, though. You went and you told Donnie Tebow, hey, you're starting Ichiro that day. He's getting 3,000 in Colorado. Come hell or high water.
We knew he would get that hit.
I've never been so upset about a hit in my life. I was so upset because it was almost a fly ball. It was almost an out at the wall. It just got over.
Almost a home run.
It was almost a home run, but it got just over the glove of the outfielder jumping. It ends up being a triple off the wall. But, God, I've never been so upset by something good happening to my team, I think, except that.
Why? Why that visceral
Because I was
response?
going the next day because I bought one of those stupid plans that you guys were selling. It's like, oh, buy a flexible plan that you can do this and you can see it in here. We're just going to sell you 40 vouchers for, $400 or whatever.
flexibility.
And you can choose whatever games you want. Yeah, it was good flexibility, except I was going every day to see him get a hit, and then he wasn't getting a hit, and then I had to eat the stadium food, and God knows what it did to my health on top of the stress. That 3,000 hit stretch, David, you took probably 7 years off of my life that you're not going to
But
give back to
they're
me.
the worst 7. They're the diapers 7.
I mean, when those are the 7 you have left, you cherish those 7. I'm not going to have those 7 anymore.
Do you think Capitals fans are pissed off today? They
Probably.
were spending $1,500 a seat to go to the game.
That one's a little different just because he needed to score 3 goals in that game. The fact that he even got close was crazy, and he was in there at the end. I mean, he was holding himself
He
out.
did
for a
2 and
little
then
bit.
1. So he scored 2 in the first game and then 1 to break it.
Yeah, I'm saying, but for him to do it at home that day, he would have had to score 3
I'm
goals.
talking about the home game that's coming up tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, no, he should have.
It's like the Otani 50-50. I could not believe that happened here.
Oh, I was so happy.
It was like one of the greatest single individual feats of athleticism I've ever seen on a field, and it happened here instead of in LA when they were going the next day, and he had already hit a home run to get within 50. They were up by like 10 runs. Dave Roberts easily could have pulled him out. I mean, I imagine, David, that would have frustrated you in a way. Would you fire if you were running the Dodgers? Would you have fired Dave Roberts for not pulling Otani in that game? Would you have fired him?
They talked about it first. So the answer is no. If he
Okay.
went against what our plan was, then
So
I would
if
fire
it would
him.
have been, hey, if he gets there, take him out,
Well,
and then he left
would have
him
had
in
that
anyway.
planned.
Okay.
Right. We would have had that plan before the game. Hey, listen, there's a chance. Just with Ovechkin, he could get 1 goal away and they could stop putting him shifts. He's only playing like 18 minutes a game anyway, but you could just leave him and let him play at home this week. But they made the decision. It's not like Ovechkin didn't know that he was going to play against the Islanders. Otani knew he was getting every at-bat. Ichiro had asked to be in that game Sunday. And by the way, he started that game.
Oh, I know. I'm well aware, David. Wasn't 1 at-bat, a pinch hit, which is all he was doing at home. He got a full 4 at-bats in that game.
Yes, he
I'm
did.
well aware of what happened.
I had to fly out to Denver.
Oh.
I had no intention of being in Denver. And we flew there because, hey, he was 1 hit away. We're going to start him. He's going to get it in Denver.
I looked into it. Wasn't at that point in my life. Pick up and fly to Denver on a day's notice.
You could have called.
And said what?
Hey, do you want to fly me to Denver? You guys seem happy to ask for flights now.
Oh, no, I'm very unbiased, down the middle. I'm not taking handouts. If anyone wants to send me anything, though, I'm not going to say no. It's just rude. Come on, get out of here.
I don't want you to be rude.
I don't want to be rude either.
I think it's important to say yes to things like that.
I do.
Not because you're pressured because of work, because you want to go to Denver.
You know what I was thinking? We should invite the Clementas to your bowling tournament.
They would do it if
But
we
at what
played
cost?
21 games
Oh.
and did it in Pittsburgh.
How about 21 hours instead of 24?
Wouldn't we want to do it with a player who has Parkinson's?
Well, no, like with
no,
the actual player.
Well, no, like a
Don't
Kirk,
make them
like,
bowl. It's
no, but Kirk
rude.
Gibson. Like, doesn't he have a number that we would associate and do it instead of tying it to Clemente? Why
No,
wouldn't we
no.
tie it to someone with Parkinson's?
A number?
Well, we did 21 hours for Roberto Clemente, 21. Maybe Kirk Gibson, what we could do, what
23 hours?
Didn't he wear 23 with the Dodgers?
Yeah,
when
so
he hit the
23
home run?
hours. And now we're going out to LA to do this?
He hit the homer in 88. You could do 88 hours.
It's too long. We called the bowling alley trying to figure out what they would charge us. And we said, hey, it's charity. Just charge us for the cost of incremental electricity and to have 2 people staffed. Because you need a tech guy always, because it always breaks down. And then you need someone behind the bar. That's all we needed.
Otani doubled to right in the first inning of that game.
Off the top of the wall.
Then singled to right in the top of the second. Yeah. Then doubled to center, and then was thrown out, stretching it to third in the third inning. That was when we all went, "Oh no, all right, this
he was
isn't
trying
gonna
for a
happen."
cycle.
He was trying to go for the cycle, and we were all like, "Oh man, he didn't get the triple. There's no way they're gonna pull him after this." Then he came up again in the top of the sixth. Surely they're up 7-3 at this point, and he homers to right center. Now it's 9-3, and surely, I mean, obviously Otani's going to get pulled. Nope, he hits again in the top of the seventh, homers again. Now it's 14-3. That's home run number 50. But don't worry, he's going to come up again in the top of the ninth, and he homers again, and that's home run 51. So he hit 3 home runs in that game. I think it was 3 home runs, 2 doubles, thrown out at third. It could have been the cycle. I think there were 10 ribbies in there. God, what a moment.
They're calling it actually the greatest offensive game in baseball history.
What's crazy is that that's the greatest offensive game we've ever seen, and he has another game with a higher WAR accumulated in that game because he started and threw, I think, 5 shutout innings with 12 strikeouts or something like that.
What was Tatis's WAR for hitting 2 grand slams in 1 inning? Do you get a WAR for that? That's another record. Don't we have a top 5 list of records that can't be broken? Do I have that anywhere? Can we do it right now? I want to do it right now. Top 5 records that will never be broken. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Do I have it written anywhere?
No.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Ready?
Yeah.
I have 2 OLIs. Ready?
Yeah.
UConn women's basketball 111-game winning streak.
That's an OLI.
That'll never get broken. That's an OLI. 2, another OLI. Wayne Gretzky, 1,963 assists.
He has more assists than any other player has points in their career.
It's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Why is that outside looking in?
Because wait till you see number 5.
Okay.
Boston Celtics 8 straight titles. Tell me in any sport other than wrestling and track and field where there's a chance for 8 straight. I have to amend the whole thing. It's totally breakable. There's a guy currently doing it, Billy. Is it an active streak for that track and field dude?
The one with 40, the pictures were in black and white, so I assume no. I'll get back to you on the other one.
I need to change the top 5. Okay. Number 4, Cy Young with 316 losses as a starting pitcher. There is no one who will ever break that record. You just won't get the chance. Good luck. Number 3, Cy Young with 511 wins. Nobody.
Who's the Lenny Wilkins of pitchers.
He did it all. Who's the active leader in wins right now? Kershaw? Verlander. Verlander with 270, 280, 310.
Verlander at 262.
That's the active leader. Verlander's not going to win 38 more games. He's hanging on by a thread. He's old. There's no more 300-game winners. Forget 511. But that's not even number 1. We're not even up to that. Number 2. Ready?
Yeah.
Will Chamberlain, 100 points in a game. Who's going to do that?
I think that's the most possible of any of the ones you've named thus far. Just given where scoring is right now, that there could be one night where it ends up being a guy, whether it's like a Devin Booker or someone late in the season playing in an uncompetitive game that hits like 15 or 16 threes.
That gets you 48.
Right, but along with getting to the foul line and things. I think
that gives you 68.
I think that's more possible than anything you've named. That's all I'm saying. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it's the most possible of anything you've named thus far.
I could have gone with the Will Chamberlain average points per game for a season over 50.
Like I think there's a chance
that one is never going to happen.
I think there's a chance that you never see another pitcher get to half of Cy Young's wins. Right? 511 career wins.
Verlander's there.
Right, but
another Verlander.
Like after Verlander, there's a chance you never see another pitcher get to half of the all-time leader's wins. That's how much the game has changed there. So I'm just saying, maybe someone can get to 100.
Number 1. This is it. The most unbreakable record in the history of sports. Cal Ripken consecutive games played 2,632. The dude did not miss a game from May 30th, 1982 to September 20th, 1998. I'd like you all to just marinate with that for 1 second. 1982 to 1998.
You showed up to work.
I looked up who the active MLB player was with the most consecutive games played.
Current streak.
Do you
Can
know
I
who
guess?
It is? Yeah.
It used to be Paul Goldschmidt, but I think he sat, and the number was like 300. I'm going to say the number's under 320.
Not according to Wikipedia. There's an active player with 627 consecutive games played.
Wow. Who?
Matt Olson.
Wow.
Matt Olson of the Braves. He did play 162 last year, but that means he's been doing it for 5 years or so.
It says May 2nd, 2021 was the start.
That's pretty good. But guess how much? Now do the math for what he has to do. So he's about 2,000 games short.
Right.
So he's got a little ways to go.
Yeah.
He's got to do it for about 15 more years.
I was going to say like a couple decades, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, because what? It was a 16-year streak for Cal
82
Ripken
to
Jr.
98.
And this is, he played 156 games in 2021, so that was when it started, was a few games into 2021. And now just 3 straight seasons after that of 162. So he's still got basically a decade of that to go, which is insane.
How old is Matt Olson? Does he have a 3
31.
handle yet?
He's got no shot.
So that's it.
Yeah, no shot.
It's done. That's a great stat of the day, though. I wouldn't have had Matt Olson as that. Because I know that he and a bunch of Braves played 162. Freddie Freeman used to play 162 when he was with the Braves, but then he fell in the shower. Freddie Freeman goes to not the top, but he's sort of near the top of crazy injuries. Did you see what happened to him? That he slipped in the shower.
Who was it that stepped in like a pothole in their backyard?
Well, Cespedes,
that's what I was
and
thinking
Tatis. Tatis hurt himself doing a weird thing. We had players who pretended they hurt themselves doing. I'm not buying the whole that. There's a current player right now. He says he was opening gifts with his child, and the cardboard got between his nail and the skin.
Hate when that happens.
Cardboard cut. Oh, man.
What?
And now he's injured.
Poor guy.
I'm not buying it.
But what would that injury have been otherwise? It just feels so specific.
That's what we always say. We have to be super specific. Like I tripped carrying my suitcase upstairs. That sounds specific, but it's horse hockey.
Freeman played 162 twice, but has played 159, 159, 161 the 3 previous years before last year where he played 147.
That's still a very good streak. But
also
he's
158 and 157 somewhere in there. It's crazy.
He's not young either. He's got a 3 handle.
Oh, he's 35.
Yeah. So people don't realize the Cal Ripken streak, the reason why it's so impressive, A, people generally don't go to work every day, which they should, and B, he didn't get hurt. So just think about what he does for a living. He played through injuries, played through paper cuts, played through shower mishaps for 16 years.
In 16 years, he had like 8 more batting stances than missed games.
It's also the subject of a conspiracy theory because of how absurd it is.
Well, you're talking about when there was a rainout?
Kevin Costner?
Yeah.
Is that the Kevin Costner story?
Correct, yes. It was a blackout, right, at the Orioles Stadium? Electrical failure?
It was a very specific area for the blackout.
Right.
And, of course, the theory that you're proffering is that it had nothing to do with injury, though, other than to the psyche.
Yeah, that's the conspiracy theory that I think has been debunked several times.
The psyche.
I don't know how you debunk an affair like that.
I mean, it seems like if it's that outlandish, there should be evidence that it actually happened. Like, you don't need evidence that it didn't happen. There needs to be like some sort of proof that it did happen, and there isn't any. So
you don't mean the
made
affair.
Up.
You mean the physical altercation that would have led him to miss a
like
game.
The whole entire thing, and then that led to like someone pulling the plug on like the power at the stadium. Like, that's an absurd sequence of events.
I love it. I happen to love this one because within the world of baseball, there is a feeling that that one is true.
So for those who are not familiar with this theory,
I thought everyone knew about this. Is this like not? Is this like a?
This transcends generations.
No, I've heard it.
there could be
I've heard it, but
non-baseball
I did
fans
not
out there
remember the
listening
details.
that don't know this conspiracy theory.
Oh. Okay.
Tell them the story.
I mean, if I know it, I thought other people would know it. It's just a conspiracy theory that Cal Ripken caught his wife, I guess, allegedly cheating on him with Kevin Costner, and they got in a fight. He couldn't play, so they delayed the game that they were supposed to play that night by, I guess, someone pulling the plug. And again, this is complete, like, I'm not trying to defame Cal Ripken Jr. I've already said several times it seems like it's ridiculous, but
or Mrs. Ripken Jr.
Yeah, anyone or Kevin Costner, who is probably the most litigious of the three. But
you don't mean litigious. You mean the most strain, AYING, not AIN. What is there's no litigation involved. It was just a good old fashioned brawl.
No, I mean he probably would be the most likely to sue someone
for
about
telling the story.
Yeah.
I think we're covered because he's a public figure. I think you're good. Don't you worry.
Well, you're a lawyer, so I guess you would know, right?
I like your chances on this one, Jessica. Do not panic. You can tell the story. You can tell it loudly.
I already said it.
Yeah, and you don't even have to do all the qualifying you did.
Okay, but I like to cover my bases. I don't know if we have any like Meadowlark,
baseball
indemnification clauses that we have to sign. What happens if one of us gets sued, David? Is Meadowlark going to cover it?
So we have insurance for that if it's done in the ordinary course of your job. Now, if you do something off air, off hours, off campus, you're sort of on your own.
So we never have to hit the reckless speculation sounder. We can just say whatever we want.
I never understood why you do that. Is that because you want
Well, we
to
did
be
at
journalists?
ESPN. We did at ESPN.
Just because you want people to think that you're journalists?
All right.
Sure.
I think Dan wants that.
Next hour, everyone come up with the wildest thing you want to say on air, and we'll all share it together.
I think that it should be not only wild, but one that under all circumstances would lead to litigation. I just want to go right to the edge because Dan's not here. We can do anything we want. Let's go right to the edge and just see what happens.
Dan's always here.
You're talking about the player that hurt himself allegedly. Sorry, with the cardboard under the thumb. Yeah, we lost that sponsor, so it's fine. So, what is the best lie that you have ever gotten away with, that you're proudest of?
No, I was not in Vegas.
Oh.
It's a good one. It's happened a few times. When the team is on the West Coast, go to Vegas in between games and say, no, I wasn't there. Don't be ridiculous. And you just don't call in front of the slot machines.